All right, brother. Well, thanks for coming in, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's about time, right? We waited a long time for this. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Luke LaFaver in the studio today. Luke is a United States Marine Corps veteran, a scout sniper, a law enforcement officer, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, multiple combat deployments in the Marine Corps and with the intelligence organization. And you're also a law enforcement officer, correct?
Yeah.
Did I say that already?
I think so.
It's a big resume, dude. It's a big resume. Well, you're here today to talk about a litany of things. One of them is what we refer to as the Thanksgiving Day Massacre. That was a complex attack on an American compound in Kabul, Afghanistan in 2014. Mm-hmm. We want to hear all about it, obviously. It was a pretty intense moment, especially for all the Americans involved, right? But before that, we want to get into the origin story, dude. So tell everybody where you came from.
So I grew up in Pennsylvania, a small town called Emmaus, Pennsylvania, close to Allentown. Most people know Allentown, Philadelphia, pretty close to that area. But yeah, grew up there. One older brother, attended high school there. I wrestled, I played soccer, and otherwise had a good childhood, you know.
Sure, right?
Nothing crazy. We weren't wealthy by any stretch. We weren't poor by any stretch. Just kind of middle of the road, blue collar. Dad was a truck driver. Mom was a nurse.
Mm-hmm. Well, how old were you? At what age, if you remember? What was the instance where you felt that kind of call to service? Right. It's we have obviously a lot of military and first responders on the show, and that's always a question that I ask, like, why?
Yeah. Trying to think of how old I was. I was really set growing up for a good while, probably into my teens. I was set on going to college. I wanted to play soccer in college. I wanted to play pro soccer. I was hung up on it. I loved wrestling. I was much better at soccer. I really enjoyed it. And then I liked architecture too. So I took that in school. I was like, yep, I'm going to be a pro soccer player or I'm going to be an architect, something like that. I'd say that lasted until I got into high school and realized those were both probably pipe dreams.
Yeah.
My brother really was hung up on going to the Marine Corps, my older brother. So it was talked about a lot. And then, of course, I grew up watching Rambo and all the stuff with my dad, with my brother. I loved playing Army and all that stuff in the woods. And
it would be an interesting case study to take all of the veterans of our age and try and extrapolate how many people went. I went because I watched Rambo.
First Blood.
Yeah, you're not the first person in the seat to say that, right? Myself included. It would be interesting. I bet the number is high.
I would think so. Yeah, so that played a part. I started getting turned on to it probably my sophomore and junior year and realizing, hey, those other things, I really enjoy soccer. I still like the architecture and all that stuff, but that's not realistic for me. I was not a good student. I was not.
I have a hard time believing that. I really do.
Really?
Fuck, dude. You're one of the most studious or attention to detail, orientated. I mean, was it just the age? You didn't give a fuck?
Yeah, and it was, and I agree with you now. After there was a switch there because my parents would tell you the same thing. In the Marine Corps and after, there's a litany of things that, and I'm not tooting my own horn here. There's a litany of things though that I came out with academic honors on. That my dad's like, where was this?
Yeah.
That was not happening.
Did you unlock the secret potential, right?
Because I didn't care.
Yeah, that's what it is.
English class and math class, I didn't care. I did just what I needed to in high school to get by and to graduate. Too. And I tell my boys, my GPA was embarrassing. My senior year was embarrassing. When I've had to use my high school transcripts for things or hand them in over the years for whether it was clearances or whatever, it was embarrassing. It's just terrible.
Barely made it.
I mean, I feel bad about it to some degree, but in the same token, that changed for me. The call to service, when I got to that junior year, I realized those other things probably weren't realistic for me, and I did want to do something bigger, something better. And I knew college wasn't it for me. I knew I was not going to be a good student, especially if I wasn't there for something like a sport that I cared about. I knew it wasn't the right answer. So the military for me was, I'm like, yep, it's service. We have a history of it. Both my grandfathers served. One of them in World War II. Like multiple of my uncles also were in the military. So for me, it made sense. Then my brother having an interest in it and all that just kind of helped me along the way at that point. And then the Marine Corps was the easy decision for me. Like you watch Navy SEALs and I watched Rambo and all that stuff. Yeah. But the Marine Corps, it was just one of those, their commercials, their uniform.
Yeah,
like,
we have the best commercials.
Like, that's it.
Hands down.
That's what I'm doing.
Even people in other services, you know, like denying their own religion, we have the best commercials, hands down.
So that all played a part. And that's where my brother's interest was at the time too. So that probably helped shape that as well. And then my brother never went in. He was never able to. He was disqualified medically because he had asthma. And I think that just pushed me a little bit more to want to do it. So that's kind of where that came from and how I got there. And that happened right out of high school. Like I didn't wait.
And I think it's important to mention, right? Like, and I'll say this about myself. Maybe you'll agree or disagree. Like I had a yearning to prove something, right? And that's something, you know, and prove something to kind of like myself. I don't want to say I had a poor self-image, so to speak, but going into the service, going into the Marine Corps, and then obviously taking the raising our hands for the additional, you know, duties that you and I both did, it proved to myself that I was capable of things that I didn't think, you know, prior to that, didn't think I was capable of, right? If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, and of course that quickly, that can drift quickly into arrogance and cockiness and whatever, which of course I think as a young infantryman, you need that, you know? But yeah, I always ask that question and you know, I think it was, you know, I needed a challenge. Like here's something that A, not a lot of people volunteer for, and B, it's, you know, supposedly reportedly the gnarliest one, right? You know, sign me up, right? I want to see if I can hack it. Yeah. Is that fair?
It's 100% fair. And I'm sure there was part of that in my mind too, because it was, I think, a little surprising to quite a few in my family, both my direct and kind of indirect. My mom, on my mom's side, she had 6 or so brothers and sisters, so I have a lot of aunts and uncles. I think there was a bit of surprise there. Number one, that I joined the military, and 2, that I joined the Marine Corps. And there was a little bit of, I don't know if he's cut out for that. Because I wasn't a super aggressive kid. Now, I wrestled and stuff like that, but I think just my nature,
quiet.
People saw my brother doing that certainly more than me. So that just fueled the fire even more.
Sure.
And then it was on from there. So
yeah, how long into your Marine Corps career did you did the sniper art form kind of start tugging on your shoulder? Like, I think, was it something that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, it was. Going in, I knew I wanted to go either at the time, because they were separate, sniper, recon, something like that. I knew I wanted to do something, and I was really drawn towards the sniper side of things because it just always interested me. Hunting, shooting rifles, shooting in general. My grandfather was instrumental in that as well. So when I got there, I went in, you know, at the time, it's very different now as I'm learning because my son is joining. It's very different on how you went in for those things. You didn't go in on contract at that time. When you and I joined, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, you had to try out, right?
Yeah, you had to go in first. You went in infantry first, and then you either spent some time there. And at the time, like for the snipers and for recon, I believe at the time, I know for snipers, they wouldn't even let you take the INDOC within the battalion before you had a deployment. They wanted you to have a deployment as an infantryman before and have that experience before you could take the screening or the indoctrination.
Yeah, for the audience sake, right? It's the if you hear INDOC, it's the indoctrination or the screening or selection for the sniper platoon that resides within the overarching, you know, infantry battalion.
Yeah. So that was on my mind from Jump Street, like right from get-go. Once I got through boot camp and then ITB, I think they called it something different back then, I don't remember, but infantry training. And then you get assigned, and I was assigned on the East Coast to 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines. And then once I got there, I stayed there. I did my first deployment, and basically immediately upon return from that deployment, I was waiting to see when the screener was going, when the INDOCs were going, for both recon and for the snipers, for the stay platoons at the time. It was not an easy road for any of them. I took the recon INDOC multiple times. I took the stay INDOC at least twice, and it wasn't a matter of not passing. I was passing. The battalion wouldn't let me leave.
Well, and right, and that's interesting. When we're going to get to that, but take me through or take the audience through the selection process, the INDOC for the stay platoon that you ended up being successful at. Not that you weren't on the other ones, but we'll kind of get to that part.
Well, that one, I believe it was 3. They can run them a number of different ways, and you may see them, at least in my experience and my knowledge of it back then and what I remember. Each battalion for like their stay platoons could run their INDOCs however they saw fit.
Very autonomous, right?
So
everyone did it a slightly different.
Yep, it could be 1 day, it could be 3 days, it could be as long and hard as they wanted until they got the numbers or saw what they needed to see to bring guys, and for whatever number of guys they needed to bring on to the platoon at the time. Mine was 3 to 4 days long, and right off of the bat, I want to say there were about, I don't know, between 20 and 30 of us there that showed up first morning with all your kit, the gear list, and all that lined up. And then they have the platoon sergeant for the sniper platoon, and then a number of the senior guys that are going to be there, senior guys and senior snipers in the platoon that are going to run the INDOC. And you kind of know what you're getting into, or at least I knew what I was getting into as far as roughly what the INDOC looks like. Like, I know I'm going to be tired. I know they're going to be just crushing our souls and see how many guys quit, essentially. Well, they told us right off the bat. The staff sergeant at the time was like, we're going to keep going until enough of you quit and we're down to the numbers I need. So I'm like, oh,
sick.
It's going to be like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know. It was one of those things that you went in and I'm like, I think it's going to be the weekend. Like, it's going to be Saturday, Sunday, and then by the end of the day, Sunday, we're going to kind of know they're going to pick and what.
You're talking to yourself, there's no way they can go through the weekend.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
We went for a while. Like, it was grueling. It was horrible. And my memory's not the greatest. I mean, I do remember it. There's certain things I can picture in my mind very, very vividly, and there's others that I'm like, man, that was a blur. But it was basically physically, you're going to put on a super heavy ruck, you're going to carry all your gear, and you're going to ruck forever. And certain people fall off then. Then you're going to go right into the night, and they're going to test your navigation, right? So we're going to get land nav points, you're going to plot those points, you're going to go run them until we say stop. And then the next day, we're going to do some more physical events. And all along, there was a lot of rucking, right? A lot of ruck marching. And along the way, you would just stop and get thrashed in some way, shape, or form, right? Some kind of physical punishment on the side of the road or the side of the trail, and then pick your stuff up. And literally, we're going to keep doing this until I get enough, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, you start watching them fall off one by one. Or if you're not getting the land nav points, right? If you're not hitting your points, then we're releasing you. And they didn't need a reason. If this wasn't like sniper school, or some of the other formal schools where there's standards that you have to meet. Like,
oh, sure.
Here's your test.
Yep.
Like, I don't like the way you're looking right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're not strong. We're going to let you go. Sorry. Or why weren't you helping out that other guy over there with this? We're going to let you go. It was just onesie, twosies, disappear until we got into like day 3.5, getting into day 4. We were down to about 6 guys, and that was that. He was like, okay, we're done.
Was it, did you guys get sleep and chow?
Not a lot of sleep, and you'd get handed an MRE when they saw fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you were hungry and tired for sure. There was not much sleep. And if and when we got sleep, it was sometime you'd finish up like a night land navigation or a night patrol or something like that and be like, you guys got 60 minutes to do whatever you needed. So that if that was, and you could afford to get sleep, great. If that was, I got to air my feet out, I got to do something to...
And they're watching, right? And I think it's important to kind of paint that picture for the audience, because not only, like, they give you that option, but they don't really tell you, and obviously everything is kind of by design. And when I say by design, either on accident or on purpose. And I know that sounds ridiculous, like, because half of the cadre is probably looking at the, okay, we gave them 60 minutes. Who's going to use it for sleep?
Right.
And the other half is going to be like, okay, we gave them 60 minutes. Who's going to use it for sleep and paint that in a negative light? You know what I'm? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you, as the candidate, so to speak, you don't know what the fucking right answer is.
Right.
So, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's incredibly stressful.
Yep. And some of that stuff is, we're going to give you 60 minutes, or like day 2, if I remember correctly, we had like 3 hours where it was like, we're going to leave you alone for 3 hours. But you also had some land nav points. You had things as far as planning goes that also needed to get done in that time. So you can use these 3 hours as you see fit, but
there's a right answer and we're watching.
That's right.
And you don't know what that answer is.
It was beat in from the very beginning. Always assume you are under observation, because you are. In some way, shape, or form, while you're rucking, everything is being observed by some member or members of the cadre, and some of it's just to see how you react. Like some of it is, hey, pick your rucks up. We're going to do a 15-mile march. Well, you might only be doing actually doing a mile. They just want to see the expression on your face
100%.
when I tell you we're about to go 15 more miles. Because last day it was the same way. You don't know if you're done or not. But by day 3, going into day 4, we were hurting. I don't care who you were hurting in some way, shape, or form. And I mean physically, mentally, blisters, skin coming off the feet. You know what I mean? Like all of it is happening. You're done.
Yeah, you're smoked.
And I remember the staff sergeant being like, all right, guys, ruck up. You know, we got to go from here, from this point to this point. And it was a long way. And they just want to see what your reaction is.
Right.
Like the right answer is you pick your ruck up, you throw it on your back, and you start walking.
Yeah.
And you keep going. They just want to see, is there going to be that
any loss
kind
of
of reaction like that?
Loss of bearing.
Because we didn't end up going. We went 10 steps down the road. They're like, drop your rucks, we're done.
Yeah, dude. We did, and I think it is so fascinating being on both sides of it, right? The psychological manipulation, right? And so it's like, and I went through a similar thing where I had showed up to the platoon. And it was like, I'll call it mid-cycle. Like basically the sergeant major of the battalion was just like, can you shoot when I showed up, when I checked in? And I was like, well, I was the honor graduate out of my designated marksmanship school. He was like, you're going to snipers. Well, there was no INDOC plan. There was no, like, I just got shoved in there, right? Well, you can imagine how that went over with some of the members of the platoon, right? But we ended up doing an INDOC-esque. There was what was called the CAF Ready Challenge, which was based off a Medal of Honor winner. So think like, I don't know, I can't remember if it was 52 or 60 miles over the course of X amount of days, you know what I mean? And I got thrown right into that. Like T-Day 2, like there's the hooch, you're in the platoon, hey, tomorrow we're going to do this thing.
This is happening.
Right? And I'm like, I don't know whether to shit or go blind, right? And so all I know is, okay, this is just what these guys do, right? I mean, I literally, coming from my old unit, I didn't have any idea.
Yeah.
Well, my feet fell, basically my feet were gone. Obviously we finished it. Our team ended up winning it, which was cool. But the next weekend, or that next, that's like ends on a Friday, and the following Monday is the INDOC.
Okay.
So here I am, I'm on light duty for a week because my feet are just, gone, and crutches, the whole 9 yards. And the platoon sergeant knocks on my door on Sunday morning, and says, are you going to be ready to go on Monday? And I'd be lying if I was like, I said, because he looked down at my feet, but he just wanted to see what my reaction was. And I said, yeah, I'll be ready to go. He's like, how are you going to do it? I said, I don't care. I'll duct tape him. I don't care.
Yeah.
And that was all he needed to hear, right? He just wanted to see my reaction, and so it's almost more psychological than it is physical.
It is.
Right?
And we've seen that in selections now all the way through my career. That's a huge part of it, is the psychological. And especially when you start to know if you have a group of guys that are physically capable of a lot. Like most of the time, if you're showing up for that, you're capable physically of meeting the standards, or you probably wouldn't be there at that point. Not to say that's all the time, of course, but if there's basic physical standards that you need to have, like you got to have a higher first class PFT to go to snipers than you do normally in the battalion, right? So you're probably not going to show up on day one of the INDOC if you're not meeting those standards.
Right.
But after that, it becomes
mental.
100%.
It's all mental.
And they're looking at it. And then us as instructors, like I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to say certain things or ask certain things, and I just want to see what kind of reaction I get from you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's very, you're almost looking for personality traits more than you are physical attributions, right? Because 20 pull-ups is 20 pull-ups and whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I would say the only downfall, the only negative aspect of, because like ours, First Battalion, 5th Marines, our selection process was, the only thing that was kind of non-negotiable was Sunday night it starts, or very, very early Monday morning, right? Like a 0-3 start time. And you're not going to sleep or eat until it's over.
Right.
And that's probably going to be right around Friday morning, right? So just no sleep, no food, and just constant testing, thrashing, rucking, missions, whatever. And, the only downfall to that is, and I'll include myself in this, is there are guys that can just muscle through it, and may not be valuable assets to, that's the one kind of chink in my, in that armor is, or that process is, like you can get the guys that are just, unless you kill them, they're not going to quit.
Right.
Doesn't mean they're trainable.
Right.
Right. They're just hard.
Yeah.
I'll throw myself in that. You know what I mean? Like they probably thought that about me. What's this guy going to bring to the table? Well, at least we know he's not going to quit ever.
Sure.
And sometimes that's good enough.
And sometimes it is. And as we know, you put guys, because sometimes you hear the questions like, why is that necessary? Like, why didn't something just happen in the last several years? And my timelines are not good. Like with the teams or something like that, where they were looking at that. They were looking at the training and saying, this is too hard. Why does it have to be this hard? I remember seeing this like in the news or something, because I think like a SEAL candidate or something like that either died or
probably.
There was a big influx in, why does it have to be this hard? And why does it? And yes, there's a reason for that. Like it's not just about physically can you make it, like you're talking about. That will start to reveal the character of someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you work with other people under stress when you're tired? Because that's when someone's true colors start coming out.
100%.
You can fake it. Guys can fake it through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you start really pushing them and burning the candle at both ends for a long period of time, it's only so long you're going to fake that.
Yeah.
And your real substance is going to come through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that's being looked at.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that, because everyone kind of handles that part different, and I don't know if it's a Marine Corps thing or whatever, like it's such an incredible amount of pressure when there's limited information.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when you're kind of at that age, like, obviously the natural response is, hey, just tell me what I'm supposed to do and what you're looking for and I'll do it. And that's actually the exact opposite of the whole purpose of the selection. Right. And so not having like a definitive, what is the answer to the question here? And man, I hope I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and because I don't know about ours, or yours, but it's not like kudos here and thumbs down there. Like you don't know.
You don't know.
Like
it's somebody with a clipboard, and we've seen this at our other ones.
We've had the clipboard.
And then been on that side of it too.
Yeah.
You don't know. And there's a lot of anxiety to that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, how do you handle that anxiety? Like, I don't know what you're writing. I don't know if what I'm doing is what you're looking for because you don't tell me, and all I see is the writing. I'm like, is that good or bad? But if I'm still here the next morning, then I'm going to assume what I'm doing is enough and or is right, because it wasn't, like we said, it wasn't everybody stays all the way through to the end regardless, and then we're picking the team. That's not how it worked. Guys just... I either saw you quit and you raised your hand, or next morning or next event, you just weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Or I saw one of the cadre members talking to you and then you got on the truck and went bye-bye and I didn't see you again. I don't know why you did.
Yeah.
I just know you're not there and I am. So something I'm doing is right or right enough.
Yeah, right enough.
And or they're seeing that thing like you said, like, there's other selections that I've been through that everyone there is proven. They've come from whatever background. They've been in these backgrounds already.
Yeah, seasoned dudes.
But then you get to this particular selection, you're on the line with them, the firing line, whatever it is, and you're watching, and I don't see anything wrong. Like, you're hitting your target, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and the next day they're not there. I don't know why. I didn't see anything myself, but what the cadre or what the guys running the selection may be looking for is, I know you can shoot and all that. Are you trainable beyond that? Is your personality that of you can work as a team and you have some humility and can take feedback and can take instruction? Because there were guys that don't, you know how it is, that they don't want to hear anything negative. Like, hey, you know, you did this or you did that, or it's something maybe not even negative, but and they just the way they take it, is enough to be like, you know what, you're done.
Yeah,
we don't need you.
Sure, and it took me a long time to like, and I try and coin this where like amateurs want attaboys, professionals want critiques, right? And you know, don't tell me what I did right. I know what I did right because I've done it. You know what I mean? Like, tell me what I did wrong and how I can not you know, make that mistake again or improve, right? And that constant, you know, chase of, you know, being better mousetrap, whatever it is, right? And depending on what age you are or where you come from or that personality trait, once again, like a lot of guys that ego kind of gets in the way.
Yep.
And then it's a double-edged sword because you had to have a massive ego to volunteer to go out for those, you know, selections and make it to those units anyways. Right. So it's like, it's just fascinating to talk about. And obviously guys like us that have been doing it for as long as we've been doing it, like it's almost like you can watch the evolution of yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I remember when I was that age. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like kind of putting a price tag on the gray in the beard. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just think it's fascinating the psychological aspects of like, it's almost like, hey, we don't care if you're the best shooter. Are you trainable?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, are you amicable? Do you get along with other people? Are you a pleasure to be around?
Yeah.
You know
all that because
we'll teach you to do the other stuff.
And I've heard this, like with the triple canopy selection that I had done in the very beginning,
which was brutal.
It was terrible. I don't want to say terrible. It wasn't terrible. That's another one where everything was obscure to us. Like, I had no idea. They didn't tell me anything. Here's the drills we want you to shoot. There was no qual, so to speak. It was, they ran you through the ringer on the range and they just observed, they wrote things down. You just shoot the drills you're told to shoot. That's it. There was no, I passed that qual. I had no idea what the qual was. It was just shoot.
Yes.
And then
Maddening.
It was teach you PSD work, teach you protective security detail, tactics, techniques, and procedures.
Yeah, close in personal
can
arm
you
protection.
execute it on command? Because I had zero experience in that coming out of the Marine Corps. None. It was, and they know that. It was, we're going to teach you this, and then we want to see if you can perform it afterwards. There were plenty of dudes shooting perfectly fine, all that stuff that went away. And after the fact, talking to some of the guys that were running the training when I actually got hired and got a contract, I asked him flat out, one of the former Green guys that was in charge of it, I was like, how did I make it over some of these other guys? Because I know what their backgrounds were. I saw them shooting on the range and they were doing that. I go, and I wasn't the best pistol shooter at the time. I could shoot with anybody with the rifle. But the pistol was not, at the time, not my best work. And he goes, that's easy. I can teach you to shoot a pistol better. I can teach you to shoot a rifle better. He goes, I need to know that you can absorb the information we're giving you and go out very quickly and be able to execute it and adapt to the new things we're asking you to do. And can you work with the team members? And I'm like, oh.
It's mental aptitude, right? They're looking for mental aptitude. Like, hey, can I show you something one time? Have you, basically repeat it? It's judgment. It's how you receive information. Once again, like, I can make anybody into, an IPSC grandmaster if you give me enough time, and they do what I'm telling them to do, so to speak, right? Like those tactile skills, that's easy. We don't have time to teach you judgment. We don't have time to, teach you common sense or, or whatever the fuck,
Yep.
right? You know what I mean?
That was a very eye-opening for me. That particular one, going through that was a lot that made me think differently, because it was just a very different process than I was accustomed to in the Marine Corps. And I was just coming out of the Marine Corps then. So I was thinking, man, I need to be able to shoot better than this guy and shoot better than, and that really wasn't. Yes, you can't be terrible, but that was a small portion of what they were looking for.
Yeah, I got relieved from a selection, or I was unsuccessful, I should say, at a particular selection when I first got out of the Marine Corps. And case in point, like they were looking for this number of dudes, and it didn't matter. And I was, and this isn't me being Timmy Tough Knuckles, like I was far and above and away the best pistol shooter in the course. The end. You know what I mean? Like, just I was blowing the people out of the water just because I just come off of a heavy range, test. But that didn't make a fuck. You know what I mean? And they even said it. They're like, "Hey, you're just not what we're looking for."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yep, you're one hell of a. You can sling the pistol. No one's gonna take that away from you. But you're just not what we're looking for. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that was it. I'm not saying it didn't suck. It was like the first thing I'd ever been unsuccessful at.
Right.
So that sucked. But yeah, when you don't control and you don't obviously have very limited information, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do the best I can, and hopefully it's good
like
enough.
It sucks not knowing, but
Yeah.
just do what you're being asked to do, and
Yeah. So you were successful in the INDOC, and then obviously sniper school, right into sniper school, second MARDIV, which is no pleasure vacation whatsoever.
no, it sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. And the cadre that was there was hard. I mean, granted, that's at any sniper school, BRC, any of that stuff. You're going to have your hardcore, and that's no different. Like Stone Bay, it was at Stone Bay at the time for 2nd Marine Division Sniper School. There was a lot of lore behind it as it was, as far as graduation. Like the range out there was very, very tough as far as the quals because of the wind and where it was at. The land nav we knew going in was very, very tough. They call it the Bermuda Triangle out there in Stone Bay because guys just routinely disappeared and got lost.
Yeah.
Because it was super thick, super flat, no terrain. It was challenging.
It's a whole nother animal out there, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's why the INDOCs were the way they were, for one. And then the platoon did a good job of training guys and getting you as ready as they could, right? You're only going to get somebody so ready. You still got to go out there and execute now.
Mm-hmm.
They did a good job of getting guys ready to go out and go to school. But the success rate was not high. I mean, not high at all. And my class, I think we had a good portion, at least a quarter of the class, were guys that had been there before and been dropped for any number of reasons and were coming back for a second or third attempt.
Yeah, it's more likely to do it twice than it is to do it once.
It is.
It just really is. You know what I mean? And that's another thing that I don't know if it comes with age or experience, and tell me if you agree, where, like, and especially in the Marine Corps, I know you can attest to this, like, failure was so, if you failed, you were convinced that was it.
Yeah.
Your life was over.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it just wasn't the case.
No.
It felt like that. You know what I mean? And, and I teach at the local police academy, here now, and you can see the students get like, having that fear, like, oh shit, like I'm not shooting very well, I might not pass this qualification. Right. And I just, maybe I'm nicer in my old age where I just walk up to them and I'm like, hey, you know what happens if you don't pass this qual? And they're like, oh, and I'm like, you're just going to shoot it again.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, get it, just, you know what I'm saying? Like, get it out of your head. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously nobody wants to repeat that process.
Sure. Nope.
Not taking away, like, failure is not awesome. We don't handle it well. But there's definitely things in that school where you might have to do it 2 or 3 times.
100%. And I mean, the signs are on the wall. Failure is not an option. No, it's not. That's what we train to. That's the standard you want to train to. And when you get through sniper school, like, that's the way we thought. Like, compromise is not an option, period. And the school is made so hard to try to drive that home for when you're out of there and you're done with the training and all that. That is the mentality that you need to have. However, things are going to happen. And especially during the course, the standards are that high. Like, you're going to have, if you have a bad day, you're probably not going to pass. And then if you get your reshoots or to retest on certain things. Now, granted, that there's going to come a point, right? If you fail it the second time or something like that, now you're done. Thankfully, if generally, at least at that time, if you're a good dude and you're trainable and they're looking at you like he just needs more time then you come back. Like, it still sucks. You don't want to get sent back to your battalion or back to your platoon.
Yeah,
having
kicking
been
rocks.
unsuccessful. But at a minimum, at least when the cadre is like, we recommend that he comes back. Like, he can be successful. He needs a little bit more training. Send him back to us. And most of the time those guys are successful then.
What was one of the most epivocal moments, because we had the distinct pleasure of not only going through the training, but then being instructors ourselves, right? Which is something I hold in very high regard, right? And you and I were there together at Quantico Sniper School. I can't overstress the light bulb moment that I had when I was bird dogging, my first class, where I was doing nothing but standing there and kind of observing. Kind of the Quantico curriculum versus second Mardiv's curriculum or first Mardiv's curriculum. And on paper, theoretically, they're the same, right? But it's the differences in the personalities of the two schoolhouses, right? Like, Quantico was generally known as a more gentleman-like course.
Yeah.
It's still going to be very, very physically challenging, but there's a lot less, in my opinion, and I know you're going to agree with me, like, let's just haze these guys until somebody quits, any chance we get a free moment that isn't otherwise slotted for something constructive.
Right.
Right. And that light bulb moment where, and I'll give Jeff props to this because obviously he was a mentor of mine. Shout out to Jeff. He's like, hey man, this isn't first Mardiv. This isn't second Mardiv. And not shitting on either one of those two. He goes, we just do it differently here. In the course, the curriculum is hard enough.
Right.
He's like, the failure rate is the failure rate, whether you're hazing the shit out of them or not. You know what I mean? He goes, we kind of don't do that here. And then, hearing that, I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. You know what I mean? Not saying that I went there to haze people, but it was just such a culture shift, right?
Yeah.
But then seeing one class kind of go from start to finish in that different, methodology, if you will, I was like, this is better. You know what I mean? This way is
the quality of the graduate.
And I don't want to say that. Well, I think the dissemination of information was, I would like to think that maybe those students retained more knowledge coming out of that 10 weeks at Quantico versus first Mardiv or second Mardiv. And I can say this, I graduated first Mardiv and went back to by the skin of my teeth on the first try. And when I got back to the battalion, I kind of thought to myself, well, I passed, but I still don't really have a solid grasp on, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't until now tactically or technically, yes, I can hit my targets. Sure. Yes, I can land nav. My comms are good, but it's kind of like the why. Like, I didn't have the why behind the reasons, right? And it took teaching it and seeing it taught in a different way to be like, okay, this is why we do these things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did you have that same moment when you were there because you were there before me? You got there before me.
Yeah, I did. It was because it was very different. Like, it was very different, the culture there, as far as how you taught. Because yes, I was coming off of, now that was a while too. So I was out of sniper school. I had that deployment to Afghanistan. I was in the platoon. I was a fairly senior, what we would consider a senior sniper at that time, and team leader, and chief scout, coming out of Afghanistan and then going to Quantico. So I was older. I had a lot more experience. So getting there and kind of seeing how it ran, I was kind of far out of sniper school from second Mardiv, and the differences. And I think second Mardiv had changed a good bit by then too, because I think how the cadre runs things is a byproduct of who's in charge.
Of course.
And number one, what they allow or what they condone, if you will, and the Marine Corps changing in that amount of time too, right? What was acceptable years ago may not be acceptable anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As far as the hazing goes, if you want to call it that. I mean,
yeah.
If that makes sense.
Questionable training methods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely was not nearly, it was not what I experienced at Second Mardiv, what we were doing at Quantico, which again, I think there's something to that because like you said, the standard, my objective as an instructor at sniper school in my mind is not to make you quit.
Correct.
That's not what the course is for. I'm there to train you to be a sniper. Is the training going to be difficult? Yes, it is. And for very good reason. But like you already said, the standards do a really good job at attrition all on their own.
Right.
I don't have to make you want to quit physically or mentally by the way I'm treating you. You might do that on your own or wash out on your own because the amount of tests. So yes, it's physically demanding. Yes, the quals, the marksmanship quals are challenging, and especially depending on the range days, your qual days, you don't get to choose that. So the weather you get is the weather you get. So your qual days are difficult. How many written tests did we have a day? During academic? 6, 8, 10?
Yeah.
A day.
Just anytime you weren't doing something physical, it felt like you were either getting a class or taking a test.
You better be studying constantly. And on those tests, the amount of things you need to know verbatim, by definition.
Yeah, tons
verbatim,
of memorization.
Academically, very, very challenging, all on its own. And then you have to meet that grade point average. If at any point you're falling below that, you're done. You're done. You're coming back. It's not because you did something wrong, but you didn't retain between the quals on the range and the phases of the course, and then doing all your tests and keeping your academic average up. Like you say, it'll do it on its own.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I was never that kind of instructor anyway. Like I wasn't a hazing instructor. I was what you would call a pig hugger. Right? Because
yeah.
Like I guess I had that soft spot
for
the student, and that's kind of more of what my personality was anyway, as far as that goes. And you know that. I mean, even as an instructor for all the stuff we've done together in the recent past, like I was never that necessarily, not in my mind anyway, that hard ass instructor.
Yeah, being an ass just to be an ass.
I was
right?
not.
I mean, and obviously that's a sliding scale. I mean, a regular, you gotta work hard to be a stand above asshole in the Marine Corps.
Sure.
Everyone's just kind of that's just it's expected, right?
Right.
But there are guys that excel at it.
Very good at it.
Yeah, that are doing it for no other reason just to lay it on thick, right? And I would like to think, and obviously the internet will correct us both. I don't think I was either. You know what I mean? It was time and place dependent. You know what I mean? I would resort to that,
sure,
if necessary, but I tried to keep it, pretty even, Steven, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like here's what you're expected to do, and you're going to do it, and anything short of your maximum effort is going to result in either failure or,
right,
corrective measures.
That's right.
Yeah. I was more of a take your sleep. I'll take your free time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I already know you can do 500 push-ups or whatever
right,
the fuck without breaking a sweat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll just take your sleep or I'll take your free time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, that was more damaging.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, kind of, I don't want to say my go-to, but that was common. You know what I mean?
Well, and if there's a reason for it, like then, like you said, if there's a reason for it and you push me to that as a student, like you're constantly, or you're doing something stupid, that's different. But I also think if you're making it up and you're just trying to be that guy, the students can see that too.
Yeah, sure.
And I think you lose respect as an instructor.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not necessarily my job to be an asshole to you. It's to train you.
Yeah, for sure, dude. For sure. And there's always one or two of those guys on the staff, right? And then, God, I can remember, and I don't know if you were still there for this, but it was almost like there was definitely a time where we kind of would sit around and go, okay, whose turn is it to be the asshole, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like who's going to be the asshole this fucking course, you know? But, it's, well, what's one thing, because you came there, and you and I both did, you came there with combat experience, right? And there was, obviously, you and I have had, tons of conversations about that, but what was something that, having been a graduate of the course and then actually doing it in combat, and then coming back and teaching it, right after the fact, what was one of the things that you realized that you did and was effective in combat that was kind of flew in the face or wasn't what was taught at school? You know, almost like, hey, there's always a textbook answer, and then what really happens and how it really goes, right? And I know, I have multiple examples of like, oh shit, this is, you know, we teach it a certain way, but when the shit hits the fan, this is kind of really what happens, or at least how I reacted, right? Does anything come to mind? Or maybe affected, how did that combat, a better way to phrase the question is, how did that combat deployment affect how you taught or disseminated information as an instructor?
Yeah, I mean, it affected, I got much better at my mission planning and things of that nature from that deployment coming back, because we do it at school. Like, you do tons of mission planning, you write op orders and all that stuff, and you, at least in my mind, going through sniper school, they were insanely long, 70-some pages of just writing out every SOP and all that stuff, which I get it. There's a reason for that, and the attention to detail and stuff that needs to go into the planning. It just felt very different to me when I was planning my first operation on the ground in Afghanistan, of what was actually important and what wasn't.
Yeah, like what fat can be trimmed from this?
That's right. And
Right.
you didn't have time. You didn't have time to write a 70-page op order, for one. Like, and it wasn't realistic. Nobody really expected that anyway. Sniper school, like I said, there was a reason for all of that. But by the end of sniper school too, we were cutting a lot of that stuff out too. There was a lot of as per SOP,
Sure.
right? Air quote. And then same thing for Afghanistan. A lot of it became very quick planning, and some of it was not even written out. It was meet in the talk. You need to go out with this particular group to do Overwatch. What's the plan?
Yeah, and for the audience sake, the TOC is the Tactical Operations Center.
Yep. And then what do I really need to know, or what really needs to get put out versus what doesn't, and what's just kind of extra added information. We don't have time for that. Like, I got to plan this quickly. I got to make it as tactically sound as possible for me and my guys and whatever unit you're supporting, because that's generally what we're doing, right? We're going to be supporting somebody, whether it's our own battalion or, in our case, it was other units, SF groups and stuff like that, that were doing things that needed or wanted
Sniper support.
Sniper support.
Yeah.
And professional sniper support. You go in there, you plan your stuff out, you take your team out, you execute, you learn something real quick from it, you come back, and the turnaround was generally pretty quick to do something else. Or then we were in a defensive position, and you learn a lot more about, I'm not going to be dialing on dope anymore and looking at a dope card. I don't have time for that.
100%.
Because now I'm sitting on an OP or an Overwatch position where the airport itself is pretty much surrounded now by that point with a defensive perimeter. So the infantry guys are in place, they're dug in like ticks, right? And you're defending, in this particular instance, it was Kandahar Airport, defending that. And my job is everything beyond that. And early warning, hey, this is what's coming. And or there were minefields and people driving into minefields, like not something I was expecting. Like, I got to talk you out of that minefield because I can see where some of the freaking prongs are sticking up and where some of the stuff is. And you're like, we're not sure where we can drive right now without getting blown up. And now it's on me because I'm not sure where you can drive either. I'm not out there, but here's what I can see.
Sure.
And here's what's marked on the map. And I'm going to just guide you, walk you through it, and or engage those ones that you can see and hope it sets the whole shit off.
Yeah.
So
try
that you
and
can
clear
cleanly
lane,
drive through it. Right. But like the dialing on, like, there was no dialing on anymore. It was, here's what I have out in front of me. Here's the ranges. I need to be ready to engage from here to here. You know, and that was very different than sniper school.
Yeah,
like, you do UKDs, we do unknown distance shoots and all that stuff, but it's canned, like it's schoolhouse, and you can kind of get the lay of the range, right? And you can see what's what. You can cheat almost to an extent. Whereas once you got out there and it was for real, I'm like, well, I gotta know what I need to hit, and I need to be able to do it quickly, because if I don't, I don't just miss the target. Like, it's a V-bid that's rolling towards the freaking main gate, the main entry of the thing, and my guys are standing out there.
Yeah.
So
you had to get comfortable with that max point blank range very, very quickly, right? That was, I couldn't agree more. That was one of the first things I was like, well, I'm probably never touching these dials again.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to get in position. I'm going to see what my max, effective kind of fields of fire are in at least a 180, obviously situational dependent. In my case, it was like, hey, I've got, almost 300 straight out to my front. I've got 700 to the right, and change. And then obviously sky's the limit behind me. It just depends on, the height of your position and so on and so forth. I'm like, I'm just going to set this dope at the middle of this, and I'm either going to hit him high or low.
Well, and it was, yes, 100%.
Right.
And it also became very apparent to me, too, because you come out of sniper school, you go into, and then you come out of sniper school a bit cocky. Best in the world, right?
Oh, sure.
Marine snipers,
And
best
they
in
are.
the world.
Yeah.
And all you get fed to you, and all you think is one shot, one kill. Like, I'm going to send this one round down range, I'm going to save the world, and it's going to hit every time. No.
Negative. Negative. Yeah.
So that becomes apparent, and that's okay. Like, you learn, yes, I want a first round impact every time, all the time, but you start to understand real quick that that's not reality
At all.
And especially when it's unknown distances, moving targets,
Mm-hmm.
like for real.
Yeah.
It's not a static steel target standing there or a target carriage
And they're
with
shooting
an
back.
echo. That's right. By the way, they have guns too.
Yeah.
And there's other things. So it very quickly becomes evident, like, I need to get a round down range right now, and then I will adjust off of that. If that one hits, fantastic. But now I know I'm in the ballpark, and I've got your lead freaking dialed in, and I'm going to send that second round, and I can be okay with that. Because initially, like coming out of school, I'm not okay with that. You go to the range with the platoon and all that, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you missed.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it sure
And
is.
the longer the distance, when you start really, really pushing the distance, and we qualled out to 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, that's a chip shot. Like, things have changed. It's still a good shot, but ballistically, the way things have improved and all that, you're making those, depending on what you're shooting, you're making that 1,000-yard shot pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just remember thinking, like, I can't miss. Like,
unacceptable.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, sure.
And you're gonna.
Right, exactly. And the thing that should be talked about too is that's the mindset. Right, I can't miss. It's unacceptable. Well, how many times did you miss in school?
Sure.
Quite a few times. Like it's almost like, where are we getting this notion from, other than the intense psychological browbeating?
That's right. That's right.
That it was unacceptable to to have one fly, and then that was that was probably one of the pivotal moments. Obviously, the first time, not the first time I missed, but the first time I missed for real.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I could not believe it. You know what I mean? I was like, I even said it out loud. I said, holy shit, I missed him. You know what I mean? And that was a very pivotal moment. I'm like, okay, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And why I didn't, it's not like I cleaned every single qual I ever went to. Like, duh, you're going to miss sometimes. You just hope you don't.
Yeah.
Well, I think it made me a much sounder and or fair or level-headed instructor, having done it for realsies. And that's not taking away, the cadre that we had there, all the cadre members,
Yep.
the best dudes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that, because we went to combat, we were better instructors than the next. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying from a kind of reality-based, hey, there's textbook, and then there's kind of really what you're going to do.
Right.
Or at least what I've experienced.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the environment, every bit of stalking and all that stuff we did was greenside, in the woods and all that stuff. And then I got to Afghanistan. I'm like, there's, at least where I was at around Kandahar and all that, a lot of what we were doing was not tree line anything. I'm in overwhites and painted if you're doing that kind of operation, or you're doing a lot of overwatch from Kandahar, or getting pushed out with a unit where you're vehicle mounted. You know what I mean? You're on all of that was different. That's not stuff you train in sniper school.
Sure.
Like, it was, you
were adapting.
We were
tactics.
employed very differently than what I was trained for. So you pick it up. Like,
at no
how
point
are we going to do this?
At no point in the basic course, the advanced course, the mountain course, or the urban course did I ever find myself basically ratchet strapped to the top of a Humvee.
Right.
and expect to be effective.
Right.
And if that's a course now, then I wish I would have went to it, because that's where I found myself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you just had to figure out a way to get yourself employed effectively.
Yeah. Yep. And we were selling ourselves. We were trying to sell yourself to get out and do all number of things. So it was, what capabilities do you bring to the table? Well, I might just sit there and tell you, yeah, I can do all of that stuff. I've never done it before in my life.
But I'm confident.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like what you're explaining to me, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly. Well, once again, what would you say the highlight, if you had to pick one thing as your time as an instructor there at Quantico? Because it needs to be said, and I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot here. Like, whether you want to admit it, you are one of the best long-range marksmanship instructors.
I will not admit that.
Well, it's my show. I get to say what I want. You are definitely known as one of the top guys, right? Long-range ballistics, long-range marksmanship. You taught it at Quantico Sniper School. You taught it for when we were you're good at it. And you've told me before, you're like, I want to be known. I'm studying and striving, and that's to be known as one of the guys, and you are, right? So that's important to note that, because what you say matters. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not just some guy that's like, oh yeah, I'd like to shoot PRS or whatever. Like, you've been doing it for what, 26, 20? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you've been doing it for a minute, right? And I've been doing it with you for a lot of it. So, with that being said, what do you think is one of the highlights of what was your biggest takeaway from your instructor time there at Quantico?
Biggest takeaway. Well, I mean, I guess I would say just to never be complacent and never think that you're good enough. If I'm understanding your question correctly, because you're just not. Like, it's easy to get to a place like Quantico, which at the time it was said, right? That's the pinnacle of sniper school. Like, that's the lead schoolhouse, whether argumentative or not, right? From the other schoolhouses, like that's where Training and Education Command was. That's where all the testing was done. That's where all the instructors from both coasts came for the curriculum review, right? So it was seen as the lead schoolhouse. So it's real easy to get into a role like that and be like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Like, I teach this. What are you going to tell me? We did it. You and I both did it to someone that walked into that schoolhouse with a different type of equipment or reticle.
Sure did.
And we're like,
yeah, fuck that.
I mean,
yeah.
A big takeaway was I came out of there, and then it has continued the rest of my life, knowing that, no, you have not arrived. I don't care where you are or what you teach.
You're never done.
You have not arrived. You're not it, right? Like, you may be really good, but there's always something more to learn. And sometimes that's coming from the students. Sometimes that's coming by being surrounded by other extremely professional and capable individuals. And sometimes that's putting yourself out there and being willing to go to other places and other courses as a student while you're an instructor and learning more.
And I think to be willing to fail.
100%.
Which is so counterintuitive to what is beat into your head.
And it's an extremely hard pill to swallow, especially as an instructor. If you're going somewhere else and you're in an instructor role in your current job, if you fail something, and maybe fail isn't the right word, or you don't meet standard on a particular thing, that is an extremely hard pill to swallow.
It sure is. There's a lot of ego.
100%.
Yeah.
A lot of ego. And be willing to just be like, okay, I got to fix this. Like, it can ruin you, or you can let it make you better.
Yeah, I don't know if it was my time with the organization, or and my memory doesn't serve me. Like, there wasn't a specific time. There wasn't a pinpoint date and time where I had that mindset shift, where it went from I'm scared to be unsuccessful. I mean, obviously that never goes away, but scared of fucking anything up, making any mistakes, almost, so afraid of making any mistakes that you're paralyzed into inaction. So, right, you're limiting yourself, right? Yeah. And then at some point in time, I was like, well, I didn't invent this shit. And how about I just do it every way wrong until I can't do it wrong ever again? You know what I mean? It was like, no one does this perfect.
Right.
There is no such thing. We're always striving for perfection, right? But there was a certain point in time where I'm like, I'm not afraid to make mistakes anymore.
Sure.
And in fact, I welcome it. You know what I mean? Like, this is how we learn, right?
I think a moment for me was shortly after, and it didn't resonate completely and fix me in that regard. But when I graduated sniper school, not long after that, I went to a competition, a law enforcement sniper competition, with a guy that was in our platoon that had been shooting competitively. He came from another platoon. He was a higher ranking Marine and came to us with a lot of experience already and was already a competitive shooter. And he was like, "Hey, you want to go to this competition with me? It's down in Mississippi." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." We just went to watch. I was just going to see what it was all about. I was coming off of shooting an M40A1 with a unerdal on it. And that's what I knew. I was comfortable, competent, confident with that system. I didn't really know other stuff that was out there. Like, it just wasn't, I wasn't there yet.
Yeah, sure.
We went down to this competition. We were watching check-in, like when everybody was showing up and hanging out, and this was brand new to me. And the guy running the competition, who my buddy knew, came up to him and was like, "Hey, man, we're short a team, backed out. Like, do you want in?" And of course, he was like, "Yeah." And he looked at me. He's like, "Let's do it." And I'm like, "I don't know shit about this competition." I'm like, "I don't have a rifle. I don't have gear. I have nothing here." He was like, "Screw it." The guy that was running was like, "I'll give you a gun. I'll give you the ammo. Like, you guys just need to shoot." Well, he hands me I'm like, "Hey, whatever. Cool. Yeah." He gives me the gun and the scope that's on it. I'm like, I'm coming off of shooting that unerdal. I can dial on 1 to 1,000 and then use my freaking incremental adjustments underneath and my windage adjustments, right?
And for the audience, like the unerdal and the M40A1 was, late Vietnam era sniper rifle, basically a Remington 700 hunting rifle with a fixed 10-power unerdal scope on top of it. So, just trying to paint that picture, not state-of-the-art anything.
No, and nothing easy about it at distance, but if I wanted to shoot 900 yards, I dialed 9 onto the scope if I was going to hold or dial for my elevation. So I wasn't getting down into, and this isn't a ballistics course, but minutes of angle and mils and different things. We were using a mil reticle, and that's about it. Well, he hands me this rifle, which it was still a bolt gun, not the same as an M40. It was a Ruger, I believe. So the action was a little bit different, but it was a bolt gun. So I'm like, yeah, I can function the bolt. That's not. But the scope, the reticle that was in it, I'm like, whoa, that's interesting. And it was a 1/4 minute adjustment scope. Did I know minutes and mils? Yes, but I had no experience running that kind of reticle or running that kind of MOA 1/4 minute reticle. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do all this math and all this stuff, which, okay. So I spent that night trying to figure everything out and sitting down with my partner and who had some experience with it. And he's breaking things down for me. He's like, "Here's how we're going to do this," and all that. Long story short, I was nervous, of course, because I'm a Marine sniper. I had just graduated school not long before that. I'm like, I better win this competition.
Yeah, you better win.
And that couldn't have been further from the...
Oh, yeah, there's the kids eating your lunch.
The guys that were there shoot competition all the time. Everything was 600 and in. So by all purposes for me, I'm like, that's close. I'm like, 600? Yeah. Well, they weren't echo silhouette targets.
Yeah, I was going to say, not right.
Not even close, right? And yeah, you were shooting some prone stuff, but some not so prone stuff. And everything was minute of angle or big. So 600 yards, you were shooting something 6 inches or smaller, and then you're still dealing with weather and wind and stuff like that. So the bottom line is we did well as a team, but I did plenty of missing.
Sure.
Right. And we did not win. And I was besides myself, but it was very eye-opening. The difference in the shooting, the equipment that was on the line, right? So that was another thing. There were guys out there shooting at the time. Again, I didn't know what I didn't know. There's $10,000 guns on the line between the optic, the gun, the ammo they were shooting, all this stuff. I'm used to throw your butt pack on the ground, put that M41A1 down there, and put a round on that IPSC or on that Echo silhouette, that man-sized silhouette, which is challenging enough in its own. This was a whole different ballgame. And the different restraints that were put on you and times that were put on you and all that. I learned real quick. I was humbled after that to where I was like, oh, I haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Yeah.
So that opened my eyes and really changed. I'm like, man, number one, it's okay to miss. Like, I'm not, just because I graduated Marine Corps Sniper School a couple months ago, not only myself, but no one here also is sitting here going, well, I can't, you guys suck. You didn't win. Like, it was not like that. I learned a ton. There were some great people there, and that actually sparked my interest even more. It really made me dive in. I started shooting more competition. I started learning more about the optics and how they worked, and it really, I think that's what really drove me to, I need to immerse myself in this.
Yeah,
like, if I'm going to be good at this, it needs to be my life. And that's where it kind of took off from there.
Yeah, well, and that's why you're at the level that you're at today, right? You know, you can shrug the compliments off all you want. It's a fact. Like, like I said, you are well known nationally, if not internationally, inside the community as one of the dudes. You're like the dudes. You know, and I think the most humbling experience, well, I've had plenty, but one of them that sticks out in my head was the first time we ever went out to Todd's. Yeah. Shout out to Todd. Yeah. You know, love the dude. But at that first time that we went out there, I don't think I hit a target ever. You know what I'm saying? And I can remember I was kicking rocks, dude. I was mad. I was upset. You know what I'm saying? Like, the foundation of my existence is eroding. You know what I mean? Because you know, Todd came up, you know, once again, you know, kudos. He's like, hey, man, what do you think? I said, I think I should take my hog's tooth and this rifle and jettison it over the fucking side of this cliff because I can't hit anything. And he's like, you'll get there. He goes, it'll, you know, like the sailboat in the mall, you know, because once it clicked, then I, you know, obviously drastically increased my hit to miss ratio. Right. But I had to see that sailboat in the mall. I had to kind of have that moment. And moreover, I had to fail miserably to even be receptive to the new information, right? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be self-deprecating. I'm just saying, like, I can still feel it like it was yesterday. And it was a long time ago where I'm like, holy shit. You know, not only am I being humbled right now, but I'm having a hard time even keeping pace. Right. So I have to fucking be open to this new information.
Well, and how much new stuff was there? Look at the gap. When we started the new one for our organization, there was a gap there. Like, I was still playing the game a little bit, but it wasn't my primary, like, getting on GRS and doing that stuff. Like, that was not the primary focus anymore.
Right.
And time, like, I didn't have time to be in it all the time because it was not a primary responsibility or focus for that particular job. So you do get out of it a little bit. You still think, oh, it'll come right back to me. Well, by the time we started diving back in to start building that new program,
apples and oranges,
things had changed dramatically technology, with ammunition, with optics. So no different for me. Going down to Todd's the first time, I was like, man, I did not realize how things have progressed in that time. I've got a lot of learning to do.
I tell people all the time, like, imagine, and whether it was 6 months or like for me, it was roughly, 4 years-ish, give or take. Like, imagine having a Razor flip phone, one of the old school Razor flip phones, and then you take a 6 month or a year vacation, off comms, and you come back and it's an iPhone 16.
Yep.
Like, that was the jump. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, I can remember I leaned over to, a couple of our teammates, and I was, hey, what do you think? I said, I think I used to teach this shit, and I don't even understand what they're saying. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we got some work to do here. Yep. Right? Very humbling. Very humbling. I'm not, I'm going to cover up my T-shirt. I'm going to put my T-shirts back in the closet.
I'm not going to tell anybody else before.
I got to earn these T-shirts all over again, right? Well, and I think that's obviously a mark. I think that comes with age, with professionalism. and operational maturity, right? Is kind of that bridge, and whatever it is that you cross that bridge from, I can't make any mistakes, to I'm going to make mistakes all the time. The key is just to not do them twice.
That's right.
Right. And constantly strive for that higher performance level or knowledge level or what have you. Man, that's when you jettison kind of that anxiety and that angst and that ego, then you can really start making those leaps and bounds in training and if you ask me, in training and capability.
And that and thinking and get off the thinking you got it all figured out.
Right.
Because you don't. You're going to be at the highest level. Even the guys at the highest level in this that are considered the best in the industry, they're going to have enough humility to be like, look, come to me. Like, if you've got another way or you've got something else, like, tell me. Like, I want to learn too.
Yeah, it's more of a think tank in a working group than it is, hey, 2 + 2 = 4, and go over there and do that thing.
Sure.
It's how can we do this more efficiently, effectively? Obviously increasing lethality, so on and so forth, right? You had to draw a ton. You got that on multiple fronts. You're a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. That's definitely something that they don't hand out, right? And how many, when you want to talk about humility, and you taught me this because you're the one that got me into it. You're gonna get tuned up.
Yep.
On the reg.
Yep.
Just expect to get tuned up.
Yep.
Nobody, right? Like,
you're not there. You have not arrived. And once you do, like, I've told you this, like, I fought not to get my black belt. I'd be like, if there's promotions, I'm not going to show up. Like, and that's not a negative thing on my professors, and to this day, they're fantastic. And I do trust their judgment. And yes, when they say you're ready, then you're ready. That's that. I will never tell you that I think I was ready for it. I will never tell you I think I'm ready for any other promotion beyond this. And when I got that black belt, my mentality did change a little bit. Like, it wasn't for me like, yes, I'm there, I'm done,
I'm undefeatable,
I got it. It was quite the opposite. It was humbling, for one, because I take it very seriously. Like, it took me probably 17 years to get it, all in total, if you're counting, because there's broken time and traveling and all that stuff. Like, and I wasn't in a hurry to get it on, because if I'm going to wear it under my professor and under our flag, I want to do them proud.
Yeah,
I travel
give them
a lot.
shout out. Yeah, who is it?
I roll. Well, Professor Jeremy Henderson is my direct. Now, I train at a couple different gyms. We are under Hobson Mora. He's out of Florida, multi-time world champion. I mean, just insane level of competence. So we are under the affiliate of Hobson Mora. And then Jeremy Henderson is my direct. He's who I've been training under, since blue belt basically on. And then Chino at Prodigy Jiu-Jitsu, so Zombie Jiu-Jitsu PA. Jared now runs that place, and Jeremy was the head professor there. And then Chino is who I'm kind of training with on the regular now at Prodigy in PA. I
remember you telling me too, like when you thought or you knew you were getting close, and we'd be rolling, right, and you'd be teaching me, obviously, because I was, I'm and still am, you know what I mean, not proficient, and you're like, I'm not going to take it, I'm not.
I'm like, I told him, like, I don't want it. He's like, it's not your choice.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because you had just you just recently competed as well.
It's been a minute now, but I had gotten, when I got promoted, I did go and do the New York Open, the IBJJF New York Open, shortly after that. And it had been a while since I competed. I was competing a bit when I was in the earlier years and younger. And then time gets away from you. You get older, you get injured. And these aren't excuses. That's just my reality.
Sure.
But when I got my black belt, Chino from Prodigy, he was about to compete. His kid is very, very competitive, Matthew. But Chino was like, hey, man, I'm doing this New York Open as well. He's senior to me. He's I want to say, if I get this wrong, Chino, don't kill me. I think he's a third degree. But he was going and doing it. And then Jeremy, my professor, was going. And I'm like, you know what? let's do it. There's no time like the present. Like I was feeling okay at the time. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it too. I'm going to register and compete. And it was different. Like not only was it my first competition back in a long time, but it was black belt level. And I went masters. There are age divisions and all that. I'm not, I didn't want my first one back. I wasn't going to be competing with the 18-year-old, 20-year-old black belts or 22-year-old. It's a different game. It's 100%. And I'm giving them 100% props. Like it's a thing. But I did it. I competed, ended up taking third. I was not super happy. Like there were, I learned just like anything else.
Sure.
Like first competition back, I learned some lessons. I had some successes, and then I lost to the guy that eventually took first place. He's very, very good. But I took things away from that where I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
It's only a total failure if you take nothing away from it.
Well, and
right?
100%. And, you see and you hear, like, I'm not taking my medal. I'm not going up there for a third place medal. I'm not going up there for a second place medal. I'm like, I disagree with that. You still earned it. You still earned that particular medal. Number one, you're a black belt. You're an example to a lot of others, especially at your own academy, in my opinion. You are an example. They do look at you differently and look up to you. I don't think that sends the right message by, I didn't win gold, so I'm not taking it.
You're right, yeah.
I don't think that. I'm not taking away, like, if that's your mentality, great, go with it. But
right, and to prove your point, when I'm going to shout out Sauk Valley Jiu-Jitsu, where I train, not as much as I've been gone for a minute, but the first couple of times that I went in there, and you'll laugh, I think it was like the third time it might have been the first time, where the instructor was getting dressed, and he caught me doing it. You want to talk about losing your bearing or, leaking something that you're not supposed to, I was like stretching out, and I just happened to look up at him, and he was tying a brown belt on, and I was like, and he saw me do a double take, and he goes, yeah, I'm not a black belt yet. And I was like, like, hey man, I wasn't, he's like, and he had not a story as in like an excuse. He goes, hey, I switched from one gym to the next or what have you, right? But I'm proving your point. Like, yes, like you are looked up at as a subject matter expert in that particular field, right? It just that resonates. A black belt in anything, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's more of setting an example than winning every match.
Well, yeah, and you're not gonna. I mean, never said there's guys out there that they haven't lost in 3 years. There's some of these top names that are these top competitors and stuff like that win almost everything they've gone to. I guarantee you, all of them has lost at some point.
100%, dude.
On some stage or another.
Yeah, no,
it's
who's
just
undefeated?
the way jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
and a lot of other things, but jiu-jitsu in general, like. I can't stress enough that you get your black belt, man, that's just starting again. Like the journey is just beginning because there is a lot, right? And then it's a responsibility. In my opinion, when you earn that black belt, you have a responsibility at that point to give back. And there's plenty of guys doing that before that, right? But I think that's a responsibility, and I take it seriously. I take my affiliation and my professor seriously. So when I, when I go and visit other academies, which I do a lot because I'm on the road so much, yes, I want to go in there and do well, but I'm not going in there like I need to beat everybody here. That's not going to happen. You want to do well though, and you want somebody to be like, when they roll with you or they train with you, be like, yeah, he's that. I would say he's a legitimate black belt in their opinion, right? Because that reflects on my patches, on my professors, and I want that to be. And don't get me wrong, most good places out there, in my opinion, aren't looking at you that way anyway. You're looking at you that way. Like I'm looking at me like, oh my gosh, if I get submitted or if I don't do well against this lower belt or whatever,
it's all ego.
It's like you're terrible. Most good places out there with quality professors and black belts in them, they're not looking at you like that anyway. They're looking at more than that. right? Like, am I going to come on the mat and just start wrecking all your people, white belt in the butt? Like,
Yeah, there's an etiquette. There's
that's
a
right.
right.
That's
There's
right.
right.
And are you willing to help and all that, especially if asked? You know, the number of places I've gone into now over the years, I'd say over the last 5 years, when I get in there enough because I'm in that area long enough, they ask you to come in and help
Sure.
teach. Like,
It's
I love that. Like that makes me feel really good because they wouldn't do that if they think you have whatever, an ego about you, or they think you're going to not be putting quality information out to their academy and to their students if they thought you were going to come in there and hurt. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is a testament to the personality of the person too, and how they wear that black belt. That's just my opinion, but I'm flattered, humbled.
Yeah.
If someone asked me to come into their academy, not a seminar, it's just I'm training in there once in a while, and maybe they can't make it. Be like, can you run a class? Like, really? Like,
yeah, sure.
I'd love to.
And to be cliche and make it funny, it's like, is Mr. Miyagi running the place, or Sensei, sweep the leg,
right?
Or whatever
right.
it is, you know what I mean? Like, badass. You know what I mean? Yeah, and you can tell when you walk in.
You
can immediately tell, right? And you have light years more experience in the community, I'll say, than I do. But you can almost instantly tell, kind of the flavor or the attitude or the personality of the place, right? Like, is this a gladiator academy? Am I going to walk out of here on crutches and, you know what I'm saying?
And the people in the academy, they are a reflection of who runs that academy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can have your outliers and all that, of course, anywhere, but the overall atmosphere and culture of the gym or the academy in my opinion, is a direct reflection of how it is run.
Mm-hmm.
What is tolerated there? What is not? How are they taught etiquette wise and all that stuff too? Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own rules and certain etiquettes, and I get that, and that's great. But overall, you can tell, and usually within talking to whoever runs the place for a short amount of time, you can tell how it's run. And I make it a point to tell. It's just my opinion coming in there, but I make it a point to tell them, like, some of the places I've trained at, I'm like, this place is fantastic. Your people are fantastic. You guys have welcomed me in here.
Yeah.
Complete stranger. Like, I feel comfortable here. And the quality of instruction is great. Like, I tell them because I think that's important to know.
I did the same thing, it's not like I have this laundry list of bad experiences. That's not what I'm saying. But like, going into Sauk Valley Jiu-Jitsu, it's very welcoming. They're fantastic there. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm giving them kudos. And like I said, it's not like I have this laundry list of bad. I guess I have had quote unquote bad training partners.
Sure.
Where you're like, okay, hey man, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to go fight, if you want to fist fight out in the parking lot, that's what it's there for. Right. You know what I mean? Like, are we training, or is somebody getting a medal and money at the end of this shit? And like you said, like, I'm 45 years old, dude. You know what I mean? Like, this is exercise in knowledge, and I'm learning something here. Like,
everybody's in it for different reasons.
Yeah, I'm not coming in here trying to, prove my worth, so to speak, mm-hmm. right? I'm just trying to not get hurt permanently.
Right. Well, and you want longevity. Like, I want to be able to keep doing this. And it's hard enough to do that as it is. Like, even if you're not training like, I will pick and choose my training partners now. Right or wrong, some people agree with that philosophy, some don't. Like, yes, I will turn people down that ask me to roll, depending on my observation of them, the level they're at, their weight, all of it. Because, no, if I'm going into the academy on Friday morning to train, it's not IBJJF Worlds.
Right.
I'm not getting paid at the end of it. I'm not sponsored. I got to go to work the next day. I have a physical job. I have a family. So, yes, I will pick and choose who I roll with mm-hmm. based on that. Mm-hmm. If I am prepping for a competition or something, okay, that's different. My mentality may be a little bit different there. But I've got to have some longevity. I want to be able to do this another 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and you taught me that. You taught me that. And like I said, my black belt instructor, shout out to Raul, because he was awesome. He was an awesome instructor. And all through COVID, that's all we did, right? Because I had the space to do it, right? But from where he grew up, he is a Carlson Gracie disciple, and the practices were brutal, brutal. You know what I'm saying? And, and there's pros and cons to that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously the conditioning and this and that, but man, and the best part about it was, man, I'd be like, fuck, I don't want to do this right now. But you go in anyways. And then at the end of it, yeah, you may have a bloody nose or a fat lip or a finger that's not pointing the right direction, but goddamn, you feel good afterwards.
You're glad you did.
You're glad you did it, right? Yeah, and God, hopefully I will be able to get back into it with consistency has always been, and you've known me for 25 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I hate starting over, and you miss a month, you miss a week, you know, and all of a sudden it's like, fuck, man. You know what I mean?
It's hard to get back in.
Yeah, because you know it's going to suck.
That's right.
You know, especially at this age. I don't care how much TRT you're on. It's just going to suck.
And it's being smart then. Like, when you got to take a break, like I told you, like I got a separated rib injury. It's extremely painful. I've done it before, years ago, and I was not smart in how I came back and how I recovered. And it took months. They can anyway. It took months and months to actually heal. Why? Because I didn't take the time off. I wasn't being smart. And it's not even about taking time off. I smartened up in that regard too. Like, this hurts me. I know I can't roll. I'm not going to. But I haven't stopped going in. I still go in. At a minimum, I help coach. If I can demonstrate something, or if I can teach something, or if I can drill it, I do it. If I can't, I don't. And I just help coach. And I keep my mind in it. I'm there to help. I'm watching. I'm still observing. I'm still part of it. But I'm not going to get down the mat and start rolling around just because I feel like I should. Yeah. Because this takes longer to heal.
And that impulse is strong.
It's very strong. It's strong. There are days that I don't go in because I'm like,
I know if I go in, I'm going to roll.
That's right. My wife is very smart. We've been together a very long time. She knows me. She knows that I love jiu-jitsu. It is a sanity for me. It's been for years.
It's very cathartic.
She will tell you that. Like, it's part of the reason, besides her, it's another part of the reason I'm not an alcoholic from a long time ago. I want to train. I want to roll. It's very hard for me some days, and I know it usually waking up. If I'm going to go in, I generally train in the morning. I know it. I'm like, if I go in today, I'm probably going to roll because I'm not going to be able to say no. She'll be like, don't you roll. Don't you roll if you go into that gym today. I'm like, I won't. I promise.
I promise.
And I get there, and I'm like,
yeah.
It's hurting me not to. And there's some days where it's so, I'm like, I'm just not going to go in because I don't know if I'm going to be able to say no, or like that's a weakness on my part, and it's not all the time, but there are days I just know I'm like, man, or if I go in and Chino or one of them will be like, hey, you rolling today? And I'm like, no, and I'm walking out the door right now, no disrespect, because if I stay here, once it starts, I'm going to get drawn in somehow, and
yeah, you taught that to me as well. You're like, just go in, because I was hurt. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get hurt, and you're like, go in anyways. And same thing. Like,
watch.
I would sit there, physically in pain, but once they start rolling, I don't know what it is. I'm like, I'll just go super light.
Right.
You start talking yourself. Yeah, you start talking yourself into it. You know, like, it'll be fine. I'll just, they can practice on me. Like, what is it that just sucks you in, right?
And
you know what I mean?
We just have that. And we used to do it. When we would roll down at where we were at down south there, we'd go in and be like, hey, we'll do some technique, and then we'll go. And we're friends. We'll just go light. And you start out that way. And within 45 seconds, it's a little bit not so light, and then a little bit more. Before you know it, you're doing a live roll. Like, it's just, I'm like.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not. It doesn't always need to be like that, and it's very hard. Number one, it's very hard to find training partners that you can actually do that and or tone it back down then. But the older I get, if I do have something legitimately tweaked or injured, you just gotta, that mentality has got to start slowing down. Like, and for me, and I'm getting better at it. And thankfully, I'm at a place, I train with people that are very, very good in that regard too, and are like, hey, don't do it.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
No, your rib is hurt. Like, get off the mat. Like, I'm not going to use you to demonstrate either because I don't want you tweaking it more. Like,
save you from
just
yourself
hang
a
out,
little
yeah,
bit.
like
Yeah.
that are going to help you. And I try to do the same thing when guys pop something and you know it, right? It's not an excuse. I can visibly see that you are uncomfortable and in pain right now. Like, sit down. Stop doing this. Just sit over there and watch. You're
Yeah.
still going to get something out of it.
And this probably isn't a winning formula, so to speak. You tell me, but because of my lack of consistency, when I do go in, obviously I'm there to learn something. But a very, very close second to that is I'm just going to attempt to be a good training partner.
Sure.
And like just basically get some good like PT out of this. You know, I'm not in there trying to get the next belt today.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so I get fucked up on the reg. You know what I mean? And that's okay. You know what I mean?
As long as you're not getting hurt all the time. Like, I don't want to, if I'm continuously getting hurt, I'm doing something wrong. I'm not going to blame you for that. And yes, your training partner has a role in all of this. But if I am continuously hurting myself, injuring myself, I got to start looking at what I'm doing. Start looking at what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Because there's something wrong, at least in my opinion. And I think there is doing too much. I don't care how old you are. My kid's 18-year-old and a 22-year-old. They're studs. They're machines. Like, you still need time off too. You still need to be smart about how you recover and how much volume you're putting in and all that. Because the point isn't to break yourself. It's not.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And
right?
yes, it's a different mentality. I get it. If you are doing that for a living, well, okay, there is a different mentality. I get it. Like, your training is going to be different than mine. It is. If you're getting paid for that and you're sponsored and all that stuff, well, that's different. You're making a living off of it.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
My living requires me to be physically capable of doing things. I can't be getting broken constantly.
Oh, yeah, that came out of my mouth too. You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, no offense, but, you know, I have to be, you know, if I'm hurt and I can't work, then I can't pay bills.
Yep.
You know, like this is, you know, I hate the term hobbyist, and I know that's a term in the community. Like, I'm just in here to learn something new, you know, become better at something that I'm not good at. Right. And, you know, obviously the byproduct is an intense workout.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, that at this stage of the game, and we're basically the same age. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just in here to have fun and to you know. And I like that it sucks a little bit. Like, that's part of it. You know, I think you have to enjoy. Like, I'm not saying I'm like some masochistic. Like, I enjoy the pain, but that little bit of suck, you know, or a lot of suck for that matter, man. The tail end of that is awesome.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
there's benefit to that.
Yeah. Why would you go in there? Like, you're constantly limping or you're hurt or this. I'm like, it's like that meme. It's like a reward. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, it's literally like a reward. Like,
it's
I'm
worth
hurt.
it to you. Like, it's not being injured to that point, but yeah, on my body, barring an injury, does my body hurt every day? Yes. Something hurts me every day. That just lets me know I'm doing something to me.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And that's acceptable to me to be in some level of discomfort most of the time because I like what I'm doing. I still feel good overall, but it's like, man, there's not really a day that something's not like, man, that's tweaked a little bit. Not hurt, not injured, but man, I definitely turned that, or I did too many rounds last night, or something like that. Like, that to me just lets me know I'm accomplishing something for me.
Well, what would you say in your 17 years of that particular discipline? How much, like, what aspects of that particular art form, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, bleeds over into your everyday and or professional life? If you had to, you know, I mean, obviously an easy answer is discipline, but if you had to pick something, you know, what is you going into BJJ for 17 years straight? How has it benefited you in the professional and personal environment or workspace?
So the discipline thing is obviously that is, I think that is an obvious answer, and consistency, but like resilience, like you get comfortable being uncomfortable. And we say this in the military too. It's the same thing. Like, get comfortable being uncomfortable, embrace the suck, all that stuff. Those are all neat punchlines, but I believe they're all true too. And they are going to benefit you. If you come in there you're going to, if you are consistent and you keep coming in, you're going to get comfortable being in uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable positions, right? I think that is hugely beneficial for anyone that walks through that door, because you're going to get put there.
Mm-hmm.
By nature of the positions, by nature of the experience level of the other participants and stuff like that, you're going to get very comfortable, or you're not, or you're going to quit, which is not the idea. But I think that's one of the things, besides the discipline and being consistent and keep coming in. Like, regardless of, you're going to be humbled as well. You are.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, where you come from, what you've done, how good you are, you're going to have humbling moments walking into those academies.
Interesting. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, without a doubt.
And I think that's huge too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that makes a difference in my life in general on the street. Like, we can have all the training in the world. Again, whatever background you come from, you can be on paper, the most badass, legitimately the most badass looking person. You got the ears, you got the fists. I've been this, I've been that. The one thing it also teaches you is you better be careful who you're talking to and who you decide you want to engage with, and is it worth it? Because you have no idea who might be on the other end of that.
Sure.
Because they don't look. I got plenty of people in that academy that don't look the part, but they will fold you up
Yeah.
on the ground or on their feet. I mean, Muay Thai, because we have Muay Thai at the gym and all that stuff. We have some people that are very, very talented.
Dangerous humans.
And you would never know it.
Yeah.
Meeting them on the street, because they don't have all the freaking scars and all the other stuff, like, and they're extremely humble, the nicest person you'll ever meet.
Oh yeah.
And why? Because they are capable.
Yeah.
And they don't want it or need it.
Correct.
They don't. And I have taken a ton away from that over the years, but jiu-jitsu makes me realize that all the time on a daily basis. Like, somebody out on the street pisses you off or does something, whatever, I would just say, be cautious of who you decide to engage with. Is it worth it?
Yeah, 100%.
If it is, it is. And if you're capable, or you think you're capable, you better have some actual capability. Like, it's a different thing. If you decide you want to engage, insert yourself into that situation, whether it's armed or unarmed, because this goes for guns as well, I don't care what it is what you're about to do really worth it? Because you don't know who the other person is.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it's like kind of the old adage, like, anybody that's good at it isn't looking for it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
They're not generally advertising it, looking for it. I mean, as far as, like, even wearing clothing and stuff like that. Like, I don't generally walk around with Glock handgun sweatshirts on and things like
telegraphing
my black belt sweatshirts and stuff like that. Even that, like, and I'm not saying that's wrong. You want to advertise, like,
and be proud of it. I understand,
100%.
but I understand what you're saying
but
too.
But at the same time, you also draw attention, and sometimes you draw the attention of those people out there that want to test you. Just like walking into a gym, you can see it, you can hear it. You walk in and put a black belt on a certain gym, and I've had it happen, and I can hear the undertones. I can hear the rumblings of, oh, let's see what this guy's got.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't need that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not looking to get tuned up to see if you can beat me. Like, there's a time and a place for that, but what I'm getting at is it can invite unwanted attention as well, and I don't want that. I'm not looking to go walking around the streets being like, man, I got my black belt. I want to see if I can get into a fight and see if it really... No.
Negative.
I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah, of course not. Say nothing about, most people... I'll just say it, and it's not equivocal. People like you and I, whether willingly or like anyone that's experienced unadulterated violence, like the true, like, open combat, you name it, like hand-to-hand, like legit shit with law enforcement, military, you name it, or you found yourself, it's the last thing that you want.
Right.
It is the last thing that you want because, you've been there. You know what I'm saying? And luckily come out of it on the other end, relatively unscathed, it is the last thing that I want to do.
Yep.
Unless I have to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and if I have to, then I have to. Roger that. We'll see how this goes. But I'm not looking for it.
No. Nope.
you don't see firemen running around, carrying gas and matches and looking for a
Generally
job.
not.
They do the job when they have to,
Mm-hmm.
right? And well, that's interesting, man, and that's a good answer. And I had, the humility, the discipline, and the humility is obviously I think the biggest part, is being, just like we said before, you're never done.
No.
Nobody's undefeated, at least that I know of. You know what I mean? It's just it's a constant. You're just never done learning and trying to improve.
Yep.
Right. And there's no downside to that. I don't think. It's one of the rare occasions where there's no but.
Right.
And
it's fun. It's fun on the other end of it too, and the giving back part of it. Like when people come in brand new and you start working with them and you see the improvement, you see the confidence level because they come in otherwise completely no confidence, like no belief in themselves whatsoever. And you see somebody like that and they come in and they stick with it and they're consistent over a couple years and you watch that improvement.
Yeah,
like,
the
that's
progression.
super satisfying. Like I love that. I love seeing that.
Well, and you're a phenomenal, once again, not just because you're sitting here and we've been friends for, getting close to 3 decades. You're a phenomenal instructor. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. I mean, you're able to break things down in a consumable, manner. And you do that with ballistics, long range shooting. And obviously you've taught me, like, my time with you, and I'm obviously not taking away from any other instructors that I've been through. Your style and how you put out information to me makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like you're a very good instructor in all aspects. It seems to be no matter what it is that you're teaching. So yeah, they are. Anyone that's underneath of you is going to benefit greatly on a daily basis. I'm
glad if I've had that, and I've been very fortunate. So if you're not going to let me just sweep your comments or your
praise.
Yes. If you're not going to let me ignore it and or sweep it aside, I've gotten where I'm at because I've been surrounded by really good people and you and a handful of other guys that are just the same thing. We talk like the iron sharpens iron type thing. Like I 100% believe that. And if I've gotten where I am today in a lot of this, and especially on the instructor side, it's because of you and a handful of other guys out there that I've been working with for 10 plus years.
Yeah, the best dudes.
That does nothing but make you better if you let it, right? Because how many times do we sit there listening to each other's classes and being out on the rank, be like, hey, at the end of it, what can I do better? What'd you see? You know,
for sure. Yeah, 100%.
I tell a story. I tell this a lot. Teaching different things, whatever it is on the instructor side of things, I used to say it often, and I believe it was at one of the precision weapons courses I was teaching, and probably ballistics or something like that. And I said obviously a couple times because some of that stuff to me that I'm teaching that I feel is basic and obvious, I said the word obviously multiple times. And you can't, at the end of the class, I was like, hey, how was that? Because half the time I teach a class, I'm like, man, that felt like shit. Like it just didn't feel good. And you or somebody else come up and be like, no, man, it was good. Like it was nothing wrong with it. It's my own perception. But I said that word a number of times. I came back to the class was over. They were on break, come back. I'm like, hey, how was that? Anything to, and you're like, you need to stop saying obviously because what is obvious to you is not obvious to them. And I'm like, ooh, that's a good point.
I don't even remember saying that.
Yeah, like that has stuck with me. That was a long time ago. And I'm like, that made me reflect though, and I'm like, you know what? That's a great point. Like I could have been like, whatever, screw you, Dagan. Like it's a word.
yeah,
like,
go
it
fuck
is
yourself.
obvious.
Yeah.
And younger me years and years ago might have done that. Maybe not said that, but might have been like, whatever. Like it's a word, who cares? But it resonated with me because you're right. Like I'm an instructor. That's a basic level course. Like that's supposed to be able to take you from I know nothing about these particular weapon systems, the optics, the ballistics of it, and at least get you to a confident level with our particular weapon systems. And it resonated with me because I'm like, man, that's a great point. Like it's not obvious. Like when I say we're going to do this because obviously it's going to have this effect. you're like, that's not obvious to them. And I'm like, that's a
yeah,
really good point.
It might not be there. There's probably not a lot that's obvious to a lot of these guys.
And like that, because I say that, and then it causes me to either skip over something, or maybe I don't talk about something that I should have talked about, because in my mind, and I just said it to you, it's obvious, and it's not.
Yeah, yeah. What's second nature to me is by no means second nature to the student body, right? And once again, I think that speaks volumes of your or our whatever you want to call it. Like that is a mark of a good instructor. Is hey, is the information that I'm putting out, being disseminated? It's I don't own that information, but I do own the product that is its dissemination, right? And it may make all the sense in the world to me how I'm saying it, how I'm delivering it, but if it's not resonating with the student body, that's my fault, not theirs.
Yeah.
Shine the light on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, how can I spoon feed this? And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but I'm obviously going to have to change verbiage, tactics, examples, you name it, right? Because it's not their fault. They're not understanding. It's my fault.
That's right.
Right.
It is. And so just to reinforce, and the reason I bring that up and say it is because if I am at a level like that, it's because I've been surrounded by and been mentored and worked alongside some of the best, hands down, the best instructors out there. And that's a fact. I mean, from sniper school, it's almost been because a handful of us have been together from the Marine Corps, and then either all the way in between on various things, or we've come back together on the operational and the instructor side. And it's almost always been competitive, but in a good way. Like, not competitive like, I need to be better than him, screw that guy. No, I want to be better than you because I look at you and I'm like, he's freaking good. And nobody teaches this class better than him. Well, now I want to teach it that well, or I want to teach my stuff that well. And then it just keeps, everyone just keeps getting better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that's
our mutual friend, and obviously to bring some humor into it, one of our mutual friends was like, I'm swimming up current. I'm swimming upstream 24/7. You know what I mean? And I remember when he said that, I was like, what do you mean? But then if you dissect, because that dude is one of the best dudes.
Yep.
He just didn't grow up in the art form, if you will, or the profession that we did.
right.
So 100% he probably felt that, like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's that, and that's not his fault. He didn't do it for 15 or 20 years prior to showing up. You know what I mean? Guess what? Still trainable.
For sure.
He fucking caught up really quick. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's and I think people obviously need to hear that, right? Whether you're law enforcement or, a first responder, just be a student of your profession.
Without a doubt.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is. Just be a lifelong learner and a student if you care, if you want to be good.
That's
and
right.
Obviously, giving a fuck is 98% of any of it, right? If you want to be good at it. But yeah, well, obviously I appreciate the compliments well, and I miss those guys every day. Oh, so thanks again for coming. You know what I mean? Thanks again for showing up. Well, that's a good segue. Speaking of being surrounded by the best people, that's a good segue into the Thanksgiving Day incident, right? Because the crew that was there that day was obviously tailor-made. And do you want to dive into that incident and talk about that kind of, not to church it up, but that kind of potentially fateful day?
Yeah. So Afghanistan, and it was in Kabul, and this was 2014, and it was a Thanksgiving. So actual Thanksgiving Day, holiday, which overseas is generally celebrated to some extent, if possible, depending on the location that you're at. And I say this to you, you obviously know what I mean, but just to kind of paint the picture, generally that's going to be like, if possible, an off time. Like, you have as good a meal as you can for the environment that you're in, and operationally things are either completely stood down or like super low,
at least
like,
a little bit of a pause,
right? It's a break for everybody. So that was kind of the environment at the time. We had already freaking eaten what was Thanksgiving dinner, which was actually, for that AO, was fantastic, and everybody was just kind of chilling out. So we have our your pods and stuff like that where you live, and then we have a team room, which is generally where a lot of guys will just hang out and congregate anyway.
Sure.
Just talking, bullshitting, and hanging out. So I'll speed through some things just to make it, just for the purposes of the story and not dragging things out. And certain details I may leave out, and certain ones I may forget because
Sure.
it's been a long time and my brain doesn't work the way it used to. But Thanksgiving night, everybody's just kind of hanging out, doing their own thing. A number of us are in the team room and hanging around there. Other guys are off just doing their own thing. Loud boom goes off, extremely loud. And enough to where you're like, if you're outside especially, you're like, and that wasn't uncommon, so nobody's getting crazy, but at the same time, you're like, wow.
You notice the big and close ones.
Right,
Yeah.
like that was a big one. And this one wasn't close as in, I don't know, what would you say distance-wise, straight line as the crow flies? That was probably...
Mile and a half,
Maybe.
maybe, at the most, 2.
Right. So that's not super far, but it's not like right outside the wall either. So when this thing goes off, it's like, wow, man, somebody got, almost jokingly, because the stuff happens and you're like, man, somebody got a big one. Like that sucks.
Sure, that sucked for somebody.
Well, we're sitting and we have nobody out right now. So nobody's outside we'll just call it outside the wire for us to where we should be getting a call on the QRF phone. So there's a phone in there, phones or radios in there that normally when operational things are happening, if assistance is needed or if it's just, hey, we're out doing this is the location we're at, you'll get a call. But generally then the QRF, the Quick Reaction Force phone, would be the thing, like if any of the groups are in trouble, and that could just mean, hey, I'm hung up at a checkpoint, I can't do this, not necessarily in a firefight, that phone will ring. And then based on whatever the situation is, a number of guys and a number of vehicles may launch to go assist in some way. So boom goes off. There's a handful of us hanging out kind of in that team room area. And then not too long after that, the phone rings, and everybody's like, well, that's strange. So one of the guys, I'm going to leave names out of this. One of the guys picks it up, and it is a member, an American, on the line from another group of ours, another agency, not far from us, within a couple miles, at a different location in the city, calling and saying, hey, he's fairly frantic and calling saying, hey, we need QRF support.
Yeah, we need help.
We're in trouble.
Yep.
We've got bad guys coming down the hill, and they're going to come into the house. And there's a bunch of them. There's heavy fire. And he can hear it. So you can hear it on the other end of the phone at the time. So this is a group then that we were very quickly authorized to go and help and QRF, because we can't just pick up and do whatever we want. This was not our specific organization. It was one of the others, but Americans in trouble.
Nonetheless, right.
So we spin up, and just meaning everybody, as many guys were in there at the time, which was about 8 of us. It ended up being about 12 that ended up fully being over there on the response-ish. If my numbers are a little bit off, everybody involved, don't hang me. We spin up, we get 2 trucks, 2 Waymars, so big. These were like, think Expedition, think Ford Expedition on steroids, up-armored hatches that you could get out with guns, and those are our heavy QRF vehicles, so they're loaded for bear. You got belt feds in there, you got all the amount of rescue devices, medical equipment, radios, things like that to be able to respond. We get 2 of those loaded up with about 4 guys in each. And it didn't take long. I mean, that process of kitting up, getting out there, getting the vehicle started, getting the radios on takes a couple minutes. We're well versed in it. It's something that's rehearsed all the time.
Yeah,
this was a dire situation, because by the time we were out there and in the vehicles, and I was sitting right front seat in the lead Waymar at the time, we were just waiting for the call to go. That didn't take long. Within a minute or so, we were getting the call saying, hey, you're authorized
It probably took longer to get the green light than it did to get kitted up and be ready.
So we were in the vehicle ready to go. And then about that time, we were also, because on the phone, the guy that was on the QRF phone was then feeding information via radio to us in the vehicles so we could get ready to launch if we were given the green light, which we were. But about that time, we were getting the word from them that there was one American KIA and wounded at that time right now, and they're coming down the hill. So we got from the powers that be, we got the yep, go. It did not take long. This was at nighttime. This is an evening. I can't remember exactly what time, but it was pretty calm in the city. So we got there quick.
Well, it was around dinner time.
Yeah, just after.
Because,
if I had to guess, like 1900-ish, because this particular group, when this happened, all right, I'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
So we launch. Doesn't take long. Couple minutes, easily, we were up there to where the compound was. It was a gated area. As soon as we started coming up the road close to that, and it's hard to paint the picture.
It's a very congested area.
Very congested, and where the particular house and the compound area was, the back side of it was a hill. So it had elevated terrain behind it,
immediately
which is
behind
bad.
it. Yeah.
As we're driving up the road to be able to make a left to go through the gate to get into the actual compound, the vehicles started taking fire from the hillside. So while that's happening, we're trying to get through the gate because the local guard force that was there wasn't exactly on their game. They were not able to open. They weren't coming out to open the gate. They were just kind of hanging out inside and hunkered down inside the little shack there. We get the gates open. We get the vehicles in. Again, we're in armored vehicles, so the sporadic fire wasn't a big deal, but it also did let us know that, yep, this is for real. This is bad. We're not sure exactly what we're walking into. But when we got there, we pull the vehicles up in front. At this point where the vehicles were at, for the most part, were screened by the buildings. There were multiple houses down that road. So the vehicles were screened from the hill pretty well, so we could get out, like not necessarily under fire, but you could hear it. It was automatic weapons fire. The volume was pretty intense, and one of the gentlemen came out, who was basically their team leader, if I remember correctly, came out and briefed us. We're like, hey, what's going on? What's where? He's like, we're getting hit from the backside. The V-bid that went off was right outside, literally right outside the little Afghan brick wall that was, I don't know, 5 feet off the edge of the house.
Sure.
So these walls, you could, if you push hard enough, you could probably push them over. Well, the V-bid was what was used to breach the wall, and it was massive. So it breached the wall for sure, and did a lot of other damage. That was the breach point, and then there were mutually supporting machine gun positions up on the hill, and then there were, your foot soldiers armed with AKs and things that were preparing to move down the hill and enter the compound and enter the building. So when he came out, he was like, hey, he was messed up a little bit too. He had taken either some amount of shrapnel, something like that. And he's like, hey, we got one KIA on the roof, one wounded, another guy, they were already bringing one guy down, kind of patched up in the eye. He got put in one of the vehicles right off the bat. And then the rest of us started making our way into the building, knowing we got to get up to the roof because that's where the KIA is. So the building itself, the front of it, or the side that faces towards the hill, unbeknownst to us at the time, when you go in, it was a big and what you would consider a nice, affluent Afghan house. So nice tile, like marble-ish looking floors, and then a big wide staircase that goes right up the middle of it, and then it offshoots to floors and rooms. And there were about 4 stories, not counting going up to the roof. Well, the whole wide stairwell, and I'm probably gonna mess it up because it's been so long, but I don't know, call it like 8 feet wide, like really wide.
Like a grand staircase.
Yep, and you'd go up a set of them, and then there'd be a little platform, and you hook around to the right, and you go up the next platform, and so on and so forth. Well, the whole front of that faced towards that hillside, all you could see was like these long drapes, long curtains. So to me, and not knowing the building, to us, you're thinking that's a wall. That was not a wall. That was a series of windows that go all the way up. So when they started unleashing fire again from the hillside, especially with the PKs, it's tearing right through those windows.
Right through the windows, yeah.
And you're no cover unless you get around to the next platform. But as you're making your way up, there's no cover. It's also very hard to return fire because you can't see anything. You can't see anything that you're shooting at. The guys that were in the building, the group that was in the building, are very, well, they are similar to what we are.
Yeah, same dudes, same backgrounds for the most part.
And in fact, after the fact and during, I found out one of them was a friend of mine that I worked with years earlier in Triple Canopy. Just didn't know that until I walked up on him up there on the roof. So some of those guys had been with us and were over there now. Just slightly different mission. So very capable dudes, but when that, just to paint the picture a little bit more, I'll put the pause on. All right, we're entering. We're going to start going up the stairs. There's a heavy volume of fire coming. There's not a lot going back the other way because their group, they had, let's call it 3 or 4, I believe, house guests from the United States that were here. You call it visiting, working. And then they are the security group, similar to us. Very good dudes, very capable dudes, but they just had a massive V-bid go off right outside their door, and they were actually sitting down eating their Thanksgiving dinner. So unprepared for what happened, and then massive V-bid. They were all a bit shell-shocked.
Oh, sure.
They managed, most of them were in like whatever, civilian clothing. You call it shorts, some shorts and flip-flops, things like that. Like I said, they were sitting down at dinner. They had managed, all of them had managed to get kitted up, get their guns, all that stuff. 2 of them managed to get up to the roof. That is where one of them ended up taking a round to the face fairly quickly and killing him. And it was fairly unsustainable because the other ones were pretty shell-shocked, and you could tell as we walked in and started making contact with them because we have SOPs, that I'm not going to mention here, that we were using to work our way up the stairs, knowing that there were other guys up there that were armed and could be shooting, and we don't want a blue on blue, right? They don't know at this point if the bad guys are coming in the bottom floor and coming up or who.
Yeah, the potential for a friendly fire is high.
Very high.
Very high.
So we're utilizing those SOPs and verbals and things like that to make our way up there and try to mitigate that. Those guys are just trying to hold down the fort best they can, and then as we worked our way up, we were trying to work them out, like get them out individually, one at a time, get everybody out of the house.
Get a head count,
get
medical.
the guests out, get everybody out, because the point of this thing at this point in time is not to get in a prolonged. We're not trying to get into a prolonged gunfight with these people. We want to get the Americans out and leave and get off the freaking X. So that's happening. Guys are working as we're coming along or coming across the Americans in there, getting them out, and then working our way up, which was the difficult part, getting up to the roof. And that was not me. I got out to basically the last kind of outside platform, if you will, and then there's a spiral staircase that went up to the actual roof.
Right.
So I ended up, along with a couple other guys outside on that platform, kind of returning fire best we could around the sides of the building, and a couple other guys made it up to the roof, tried to return fire and get the American body off the roof under ridiculous amounts of fire. So that was the hard part. The roof had almost no cover. Call it it's a knee wall.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get up there and be upright or even in a crouch position and walk. You had to be at a minimum on your hands and knees, if not on your face. Yeah. Crawling across that thing. And now you're trying to get, a guy about your size, lifeless body, off the roof via a spiral staircase, under fire, a lot of fire, and trying not to get hit yourself. So the guys that were up there, very, very difficult. They managed to get him over. We got him down. I'm going through some of this because there's certain things I just don't want to mention, at least not that I remember, just out of respect. Got him down off the roof, which took a second. And then from there on out, he was basically the last one. At this point, at least to my knowledge, because I was up top, and our other TL, he's on the radio. Everybody's picking up their responsibilities, returning fire best they can at targets they can identify, launching 40 Mike, whole 9 yards, like trying to suppress what you could so we could make our way down. One of the TLs on the radio, he's also talking back and reporting what's happening. At this point, there's more of our guys at a separate location in the city that are also spinning up to be able to come out and assist if needed. And then we basically took turns trying to get his body down the steps, which, again, this is all this stuff is still coming through the windows, so you're just doing the best you can. Guys returning fire up on the platform, and then the rest of them trying to get him down without getting hit and get him out, which eventually get him out. By this point, everybody else that was in the building besides our guys were out, loaded in the vehicles, ready to leave. So we start breaking it down and just basic fire maneuver, back down the steps, back out until we get the last man, load up in the vehicles, and then trying to get out of that particular compound because there was no other way out. And it was a very thin street, a very narrow street, and it had those, I don't know what they're called. They look like jacks.
Oh, yeah.
Steel.
Kind of, and I don't know what they're called. They're,
like
man-made
mini
obstacles.
tetrahedron or something like that.
Yeah. Not something you want to drive over.
No, and you can't. And so those were spread out. So we're trying to get these huge vehicles turned around because we can't just back out onto the street either because there's traffic. There's cars parked. So getting those turned around, and unbeknownst to us, or at least to me at the time, we get that done. We get the vehicles rolling. The other group from the other location in Kabul at the time had pushed a vehicle or two out down to the one circle that was very close to where we were at, and they were kind of holding things down and holding things open there, which was awesome. Because when we got out onto the road and we start moving, and you're trying to move with a purpose, one of the Waymars, one of the hoses that, of course, you couldn't hit if you tried, was hit.
And now you're limping.
So now the vehicle's running and it will move, but I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. Like the turbo or something like that was shot.
It's
and
basically
it was just,
in limp mode.
Yep. So didn't need to tow it or we didn't end up having to tow it or push it at that point, but it limped and it was a slow roll. So we ended up getting down to that circle. The other group was down there as well. Basically made a freaking protective shell and moved our way to the other location in the city, not back to where we came from. We went to the other one, which was basically at the airport. Got back over there and then did what we didn't do an AAR or anything there, but we had to get the body and we had to get the wounded to the actual hospital over there to be treated. And that's basically when everybody kind of broke down and broke out as well to make sure nobody else was hit, unbeknownst to them or things like that. Assess the vehicle. That's kind of where the main scenario or the main event ends. Things went on the rest of the night. Like we ended up having to go back over, or we ended up going back over to our primary location, where we launch from and where we live. There were reports of possible attacks on the location. So now you're spinning up and you're nothing actually happened there, but the reports were
be ready.
Could be
prepared.
So we're doing all of our things to lock down that location and keep everything safe in there. And at the same time, everything was still, so the guys that we did still have with us from that house were also then feeding information, and our hires were like, hey, what else is in that house? Because now it's completely unsecured and there's going to be, the ability for people to get in there. So debrief was happening. Now the cavalry is also being brought in, right?
Assembled, yeah.
Bring everyone.
Yeah.
So everybody, other heavy hitter groups are getting involved and basically coming to the house and stuff as well, because the determination was made, hey, we need to go back over there and get sensitive stuff out. There was things in there that, hey, we can't just leave that stuff in there. We got to go secure that location. We got to get this stuff out of there. And then whatever happens, happens. So that did happen.
And then to interrupt you, there's a potential there for hesitation, right? Like you're still, because how much time do you think total? And I know I'm not asking for like, because it's perception, right? It probably seemed like you were there for a year.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in reality, it was, I don't even know if you know the answer. Minutes.
It was
right?
minutes. And I said this so you do AARs and debriefs and all that. The days after that were filled with.
Did that really? Yeah. What?
Right.
Yeah.
And each individual person, like, typing up like their own AAR from their perspective. That's why I say, like, if you hear this story from each of the other guys, you're going to hear a different.
Sure.
It's going to be the same. I think what I'm stating is pretty accurate from my memory and from my viewpoint. But there's other guys that were at different parts of the roof.
Sure.
Or at different, and they're going to have a different, or came in a different vehicle. Because I'm not even mentioning, like, one of the other vehicles that did come, the other QRF vehicles, and lock down the gate. Like, that was huge too, because we can't have people come rolling in behind us.
Yeah, for sure. But there had to be a point when the decision is made, okay, we have to go back.
Yeah.
You know, was there a pregnant pause like, oh, fuck, you know, or were you still so jazzed from the, you know, like.
From my perspective, it was like, yep, roger that. Like, but we were going back.
Heavy.
Super heavy.
Yeah.
And with aerial assets, you know what I mean? Like,
comfort.
this is going to be different. Yeah. Like, if it clicks off again, this is going to be very different. So we had groups that were out on that hillside, you know, with some indigenous personnel as well. I mean, sweeping that hillside, as well as guys from the inside clearing. Because when you go back in, you got to clear back into the house now. It's just not like it's not a secured structure. At that point, it was technically not a secured structure. So that was successful. That was a much larger operation. It took a minute because a lot of stuff came out of there, right? That needed to. And that took everybody securing basically that whole hillside, locking that compound down, and then going through anything and everything inside that house to pull it out, and having the number of vehicles to load everything in and bring it back. So it was a substantial, and to my knowledge, recollection, there was really nothing else happening over there when they went back, because the hillside was cleared before the element went in and rolled back. So that was largely uneventful as far as going back to get everything out. But I can't remember exactly, but I remember thinking, man, we had to be out there for 30 or 45 minutes, like doing our thing. I think in its entirety, it was less than like 18 minutes.
Yeah. From
start to finish, leaving. So the time on site was quick. It happened, and I wrote it in my AAR, and I'll say this to this day. Like, everybody wants to Monday morning quarterback it, and, you know, I was there for overhearing conversations after the fact, days and weeks after, when other people are rotating in. It was like, I don't know why'd they do this and why'd they do that and how they do that was stupid and this and that. And I'm like, if you weren't there, I don't want to hear your opinion whatsoever. Because according to me, this is a dozen or so of us that went over there in less than 20 minutes with a pretty heavy volume of fire going on, not knowing where the actual threat was. We didn't know the layout or the location. Very few of us, if any of us, had been there before. To roll in there and go in there and come out of there with none of our team taking any wounded, KIA, anything like that. I mean, some minor cuts and bruises and things like that here, but is miraculous. Because if you look at pictures, photographs that were circulating of the front side of that building and the inside of it, how you go up and down those stairs more than once and nobody got hit. And I'm not saying that like, here's how badass we were. Negative.
No, it's unexplainable that the luck, the amount of, you know,
Did it go well though? In my opinion, tactically, the group 100%. Like, the SOPs worked. The communication worked. We went up and came back down, covering each other. Like, did it? Yes. I think about as well as it could go for that type of unpredictable situation. I think it went phenomenally well.
Yeah, for sure.
Lessons learned, of course. AAR it, you hot wash it, you come back and be like, man, this would have been better, that would have been better, of course. But overall, the way that went down as quickly as it had to go down, because had that, and you asked that, don't ask me, ask the guys that were there that were calling for help. Had we not gotten there in the amount of time that we did, had his call gone out later than that, or he hesitated,
Oh, sure.
or we had hesitation or denial of being able to go as quickly, and I'll hand that off to our boss, the high boss, the chief that was in charge. Had he not made the decision and said, "Yep, go," when he did, that would have been a whole different.
Yeah.
That would have been a whole different scenario for them and for us going in.
Going from a kind of a rescue mission to a cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I'm not saying that, it's just a fact. Those critical seconds count.
100%. Like that was, they would have been down the hill and inside that location.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my understanding, it wasn't even the targeted location.
Yeah, it was almost on accident.
Their house. So that would have been even worse because it wasn't even the intended. And again, this is my understanding. This is not me knowing this. This is things and some reports and information that we got after the fact.
After the fact, yeah.
Was that the location next door to it was the actual intended target. These guys responded because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know, of course, either that the next door or which building was the intended target. What they knew was we need to defend ourselves and anyone else inside this compound.
Well, yeah,
and that's what they did.
When a couple 100-pound V-bit goes off, you don't check the property lines to see.
That's right. So that I say that because I don't want anybody, like I've told this, a number of us have told this story at different times in different places for learning purposes, right? And to put it out and to reinforce certain things, not to knock on the guys, because I want there to be no mistake. This is not knocking the guys that were there doing our job for that organization.
No, of course
they
not.
did what they could under the circumstances to the best of their ability. And thankfully, were able and had the presence of mind to call for help, and we were able to go and help. Like, bottom line.
Yeah, the fact that they were performing as well as they were performing after eating a charge like that
close,
right? And obviously I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? But you don't have to be there to know that's a thing.
No.
And once your bell gets rung like that, it's it's almost Jesus take the wheel. And anything short of that, you're thankful for it.
That's right.
Right.
Yep. And they had more to deal with than normal. Like, I won't go into too much detail. Like, this is me giving them props because, man, I'm glad they were able to call. I'm glad we were where we were. I'm glad we were able to get there in the amount of time, because that situation was horrible. The location was horrible. And this is not them picking the location either and being like, this is tactically sound. Like, it doesn't work that way sometimes, especially in some of these organizations. They dealt with and were dealing with what they were given and tried to make the best of it. And everything was against them.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta pick the dirtiest shirt in the laundry basket and just put it on, right?
That's it.
Or the least dirty shirt, right?
Yeah. So that was in a nutshell,
it's an incredible story, and it was and obviously thank God you guys were as successful as you were. What would you say was your when the dust settled? And I know that takes like a couple of days, even a couple of weeks sometimes. What do you think your biggest takeaway from the instance was? Because obviously it's not your first rodeo.
No. That's a hard one for me to answer and it's been asked a number of times, and it's always a kind of a sticking point for me because, like, I could sit here and be like, well, you want to have a better plan going in. Like, we didn't know the layout and this and that, but there was no time for that. Like, because that's one of the second guessing things that often comes out. Like, you guys should have stuck around and you should have put a plan together and you should have this and you should have that. And I'm like, if we had done that,
yeah,
they would be dead. Period. Like, there wasn't time to do that kind of sit down, pull a map out, look at, but gear. So one of the things that did happen was there were guys afterwards and on site like, shit, I should have had my this, or I should have had my, because in the haste, so to that point, in the haste of grabbing your stuff to get out there, get in the trucks, get everything spun up and go, things were left behind that would have been very beneficial.
Very beneficial.
Yep. And it wasn't everybody. It was some guys grabbed their stuff on the fly and didn't grab one or two things, right? And I can remember hearing it. And it's like, well, you did what you did. Like you got out there and you still...
We're going to war with what we got.
That's right. And you make the best of what you got, or you borrow, or you grab something out of the QRF vehicle that's already in there, because guys were doing that too, and grabbing the guns and grabbing the ammo, because we went through some ammo. I mean, guys went through and were down to go bags. And if you didn't have go bags, you were down to the bags that were coming out of the QRF vehicles for nothing more than to put as heavy a volume of fire back the other way as possible to try to get back out under less incoming fire.
And I think, I guess, and I'm not looking for a particular answer, but I think we can tie it back into some of the initial portions of the conversation where it's like there's what you learn in the schoolhouse, there's textbook, and then there's what really happens in real life, right? And even the best laid plans never last past first contact, right? You know, and all the cliche adages or whatever, but the kind of brilliance in the basics, in the SOPs, in the interoperability, and guys being, self-starters, finding a job, basically, and just working in that synergistic, even in the worst environment imaginable, right? Like, and with no plan, completely reactive. I think that speaks volumes to, walking away from that and going, okay, well, this went as well as it could be, or went as well as it could have, because of that brilliance in the basics and the adherence to, man, the basics are where you're going to make your money.
Yep. And the SOPs worked.
Because everything else is basically out of your control.
That's right. And it's not like, to reinforce that, because that's an excellent point and way to put it. Like, for the audience, this is not a team. Like, we're not 12 guys that work together every day as a 12-man team doing CQB and doing, like, we're spread out all over the country at different sites, and then you go home, and then you come back, and you may have a different team, and then two more guys come in, and, like, out of the number, and I'm not going to say the full number of guys at that location, just out of OPSEC, but we had more than that, right? It wasn't just 12 guys at our particular location that live there and operate out of there and all that. There's more than that. So it was the first 12 guys that got their gear on and got into the vehicles and rolled out, put a basic plan together in the vehicle for once we arrive, and then once we got to the house and started moving into the house, it was the SOPs. And then again, thankfully, that sister unit, we have the same SOPs, the same terminology, the same and it worked exactly the way it was supposed to in that regard.
And without a doubt saved you. For you know what I mean? Like, was, the probably the key factor, other than timing, that it was as successful as it was.
Yep. Yeah, it was something for sure. I mean, you feel like you feel good about it, like after it happened and all that, you feel good about it, but then it's, you still lost a guy, and he was a known dude. Like I said, a lot of us between the two programs know each other and have worked both programs. So I'm super glad it wasn't worse for everybody involved, that it wasn't worse than it was. I'm super happy that we had a chief at the time that had some nuts.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Because there's other situations that our group has been involved with that has not happened, and a lot more people have died because of it. So, that was.
Well, like I said, it's an incredible story, and I appreciate you sharing it. And I think there's obviously a lot of lessons. There always is, a lot of lessons to be learned, good takeaways, good and bad, right? But at the end of the day, like I said, somebody called and you guys went, You know what I mean? No questions asked, ahead of schedule and under budget. you know, and yeah, it's badass, man. It's and those stories need to be told, right? You know what I mean? People need to know that there are people like yourself and the other guys that are out there doing those things. You know, I think it's important. You know,
Yeah.
And obviously nobody's looking for pats on the back or anything like that. It's just, hey, this has happened, or this happened. Here's what I learned from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like here's how we can improve. You know, not check me out, I'm kick ass. It's here's the mistakes we made. Here's the adjustments that we made. Here's what we could have done better.
Yep.
You know, and so I think that's why we tell the stories.
Right, and that all happens, right? It should happen. It happened there afterwards, and yeah, there's mistakes that were probably made, but all the other courses that we end up telling that story at, it's for that reason, and it's also to reinforce, hey, these SOPs that we're giving you guys, they do work.
This is
Like
for
there's
a
a reason for it, and they do work if you employ it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I want to know that too. Like we've been in those situations, those sticky situations, and some of those locations, and we're not a big team. Like there might only be 2 of us.
Yeah.
Like I want to know that that's coming.
Yeah.
Like if I get on the phone, I'm like,
oh yeah.
like having done it, I'm like, man, that makes me feel good because I know if that group or that type of unit, that type of group is in the area, if I call for help, the likelihood is I know they're coming. As long as they're cleared hot to do so, I know they're willing. I know they are.
Yeah, for
I know
sure.
they're capable. And
Yeah.
I know they're coming.
And I used to tell, you know, we'll call them our work colleagues, right? That weren't as versed or not as versed as, you know, infantry tactics and special operations. You know, they're obviously very, very gifted and skilled in other areas. And I'd say, hey, when you make that call, if you're out, you know, by yourself, like, make no mistake, I'm not going to materialize out of like, I want to try, you know what I mean? Like, but we need to have realistic expectations of what's actually possible here. What's reality versus that kind of that movie that's playing in your head, right? Especially, you know, in a very, very stressful situation, right? But make no mistake, I'm getting there as fast as humanly possible.
Right.
You know, come hell or high water. Like that, there should never be a question there, right? Yeah, it's incredible, dude. Well, like I said, thank you very, very much for telling the story. What's next on the agenda? What's Luke 2.0? You got anything hot on the horizon? You got any competitions or anything coming up?
I don't. I am transitioning right now out of kind of instructor role into going on to something that's still protective in nature. That's what GRS was and all that stuff too, right? But I won't mention too much because I shouldn't. Not because it's so super top secret, because that's not the case. But it's still for
change of pace.
Yep,
Change of
pace.
environment.
It's going to be a little bit. I think this will be a little bit better. I want to say for my family, for my wife. I mean, my son is about to join the Marine Corps, so he's going to be out of the house. It's just going to be my wife. So it's still going to be a good bit of travel, but it's not across the country constantly. It's a little bit closer, right? I'll be a couple hours away from home versus, you know, a full day. And yes, it's definitely a change of pace. So I'm looking forward to that. On the jiu-jitsu side, I'm gonna keep keeping on.
Yeah, man.
I do want to compete again. That is absolutely my goal, is to get back into another competition sooner than later. I've just got to get a couple things tweaked and healed up. You know, I got the rib thing going on. I'm getting older. I got a torn labrum in my right hip that causes me a substantial amount of pain that I'm trying to get worked out too. So once I can get things tuned up a little bit in that regard, then yeah, I want to get back out and compete. And then, you know, just helping my boys, both of them. One of them's going to a tryout for SF with a guard unit, not SFAS or anything yet. This is their in-house tryout. And then my youngest is getting ready to leave for the Marine Corps. So
yeah, you got incredible kids, dude. Incredible family.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And I, you know, obviously it goes without saying, sincerely cherish our, you know, lengthy relationship from the Marine Corps, all the other places. And I once again can't thank you enough for coming out. So.
Yeah, this This is fantastic. This has been
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Where can people find you if they want to find you?
As far as location, or are you
Social
talking about
media,
social
anything?
media? Yeah, so I'm. I don't have websites or anything like that, but I am on this. I can't believe you asked me that. I'm so illiterate when it comes to. I don't do much on social media. I do have Instagram that I use to basically advertise my kids and what they're doing, and that is at Dirty Kimura. So that's my. I don't do much on there. Like I said, I don't post a whole lot. I'm not a big social media presence. I have it more so I can kind of stay up to date on jiu-jitsu and my kids and nomadic research and things like that. So, but yeah, that's where you can find me. And if I'm posting anything or putting stories out there, it's going to be there and generally about what my kids are doing.
Perfect, dude. Perfect. Well, how's your hunger level? So should we feed you?
Oh, I can always eat. Gotta feed the machine.
All right, dude. Thanks for coming on, Luke. Love you to death, brother. Thanks everybody for listening. You know the deal. Stay mobile.